I think Yanni's gonna join a little later. I want to see if YouTube will just, allow us to slide right in. But in the meantime, I didn't want to just keep keep the one person in the chat waiting. Um, so look, there's a lot going on today, right? There's been a lot happening. Specifically, I want to start with, just Charlie Kirk because not so much. I know how people feel. Some people, are on the side of we don't care. There's nothing that matters to us about him, his family, nothing. It's not important to us. And there's a side of people that are on, the conservative side that really feel like this is a blow to the community, especially coming out and seeing who was the person that actually, pulled the trigger. A lot of people had a lot of speculation of who it was. And a lot of people had to eat a bit of crow walking back some statements and thoughts about it being a particular, liberal group. But more importantly, my point has always been it shouldn't matter how you feel about the person. The important thing should always be that a person was killed in this sort of manner. Yes, the same lives that are lost, that we see that are reported on the news, the gang violence or just in inner cities or whatever, those all matter. Every bit of those matter. And when we are looking for compassion, right? This is the key. When these things happen to a specific community, and we'll just keep it black, because black. When we see that happen to our own community, our one of our first thoughts is that, wow, where is the compassion for our plight? Where's the compassion for what is happening to us? And you can link it down to systemic oppression. You can link it down to the many, many sins, in fact, the original sin of the United States. But the fact is, what we're always been lacking doesn't matter who you are, what race, what flag you fly. Compassion has always been this thing that's missing. So when something like this happens and we don't show it on ourselves, this is what happens as well, right? We end up in this sort of deficit where we're just like, well, it doesn't really matter. When we show the baser sort of nature of us, and this isn't, this obviously isn't like specific to a certain just color. When we engage in that, what happens? No one really ends up caring, right? No one ends up caring about when something happens to us. When the louder we get and the show of dispassion for the lives of his family, his wife, his two toddlers, the less compassion someone's going to have when it happens to us. And I know that's an awful reason to be compassionate, right? That's a terrible reason to say, oh, you should be compassionate because if something happens to you, you would want that. But we all adhere to the do unto others as you want to unto yourself. I think we can hold to that. We can believe in that. We can see that. We can understand that. If we don't want that to be our case, our folly, we don't want that to happen to us, then we need to be cognizant. We need to be aware. We need to understand that if this happens, what then? So we've seen the fallout, right? And we're already seeing the fallout. And I think that that also that should garner another conversation. The amount of people that have come on, and even people that are supposed to be media trained. I can give forgiveness for some of us that are just emotional and saying the things because you have no media training. I have absolutely no media training whatsoever. So if I say something that's off key, that's off the rails, then you know what? That's on me. That's something that I really should have worked on. I should have thought about. And I can even give you credit for that, that over time you will learn to do better with those things. But the truth is, when you're in the media and you're letting your sort of bias show, remember the media is supposed to be unbiased, right? That's what they always tell us, right? Their media is unbiased. You should trust it. It's the best thing, since sliced bread. Um, what honestly ends up happening? Some people end up losing their jobs, right? Because we believe in freedom of speech, but it has to be under the proper context. It has to be under the proper guise, and we'll get to that in a second. I just want to still focus on Charlie Kirk's situation. So, we know that it was, we know what happened in Utah, and they, after several people, several starts and stops, they found the right person, Tyler Robinson. He was turned in by his family. If we consider that, what it would take for you to turn in your own child, what it would take for you to say that, okay, what is happening is wrong. I should do the right thing. He did this horrific thing. I'm going to now at least take steps in getting him taken, not I want to say taken care of, but getting him to the proper authorities. Can we not have some compassion for that? what that takes in itself. Um, yeah, we definitely demand yeah, Democrats absolutely demand an apology. How the everyone turned and said it has to be this. I think it's a good example of how awful and how easy it is to become sort of radicalized today when we don't really care to be careful with our words, our stances, our beliefs, and how much we push that out there. And I want to say clearly, there is a smaller aspect in social media. I think we're just taking our cues from how media was. When you build a YouTube or you build some sort of thing where you want to create content, in the back of your mind is the content you've always grown up with. The way people talk, their cadence, the way the cuts are moved. Everything we do, if you're really trying to make something of something, what ends up happening a lot of times, it's you want it to be you mirror the things that you love, the media, the attention, right? The movies. So your cuts look like that, or you try to emulate that look. You want that to look cinematographic. So what we also end up emulating is the bad behaviors, right? The way there isn't any real, unbiased nature to what they're saying. Um, yeah, there's no biased nature. There's no unbiased nature to what they're saying. They're telling their point of view. They're telling their personal point of view. When institutions are telling you this ain't it, right? And they're letting you go because institutions are always gonna like it's a corporation. They're not loyal to you, to what you can do for them. They're loyal to their bottom line. So, but we'll get into that in a second. They identified him as a 22-year-old Tyler Robinson who resides in southern Utah. Robinson was arrested on charges of aggravated murder. I'm sure you guys saw it. You maybe saw the clip. I got a haircut maybe 30 minutes ago, and even my barber was talking about it, showing me the clip and asking questions. And it's like, okay, we can obsess over the thing itself, the death, the killing, and we give such little credence to like, listen, this is what happens next. Look at his family, and even people saying, "Yo, I don't have any compassion for that." I don't want to be a person to tell you you're wrong, to not have compassion for someone that lost their life or their family they left behind. Uh, that's up to you, and whatever issues you have, even if you don't know that person personally, that's up to you. Personally, I think it's a loss. I said on the last live stream that we did like this that I would rather you come up and you debate the shit out of him, right? You crush him. Right? Hey, you believe this, you're up here, you've got this entire setup. You probably have a team working behind you at Turning Point. Yeah, but I'm gonna kill you with these facts. I'm gonna bury you with these facts because I got it. I got it. I got it like that. I'd rather see that than this, succumbing to the level of discourse, lack of discourse, like what he was mainly talking about. When we stop having conversations, when we stop having back and forths, we get violent, right? And by we, I want to at least focus a little bit like men, we do this, right? We that's this is usually on us. The violent part is usually on us. Not to say women don't have their hand in it, but this sort of thing is usually on us. When we fail to actually have conversations, and they said, I read a couple of articles. They said, yo, when we saw the family saying, you saw like little hints of this outside of the obligatory. No, we never knew this would happen. You can see the radicalization of someone, and it usually happens on an emotional track. It usually happens as your emotions are being pulled and plied back and forth, and you're riding this rush, this wave. This is how it's easy for us to go down one path and stay there. You can see it the same way. Whenever you see something on TikTok or something on Instagram, something, a hot take. The first place we all run is the comments. We all do it, right? That's part of being on social media. I need to see the comments. I send my friends memes. I said the comments. Forget everything else that's being happening here. Just type the comments. What you'll see a lot of times is how people really believe, what they really feel, and they'll tell you in spades. And the amount of people that'll like something, amount of people that will go ahead and thumbs up, will say me too, and they'll share their own testimony, their own particular thing that happened to them, and it becomes this legitimate echo chamber, and that which should be one of the things we're most afraid of. We need to have places where we can have an actual back and forth, where we can talk with one another, and we can actually say like, okay, this isn't it, right? I want you to disagree with me because you can actually prove me, I may be wrong about something. You know, I may be wrong about something, and that is value. That should once again be valuable to us. Everyone in the chat knows you don't know everything. I don't know everything. So if someone here is talking about something completely different that I have no knowledge of, maybe I should, instead of trying to say, let me shout them down because I feel like they're wrong. Maybe I should listen. I think at the very least we could pull that little nugget from what Charlie Kirk was doing. Yes, you can find inflammatory takes, you can find hot takes, you can also find reasonable takes. Right? You can do that. You can find that. The problem is, don't let this ruin your compassion that you have for someone. That should be always be the sort of takeaway. I don't want to become, you know, void of compassion when someone else's life is taken, filmed, filmed. That would eternally be on the internet. That's on plenty of people's servers, plenty of people's hard drives, never to be forgotten, never to be wiped, always to be viewed again and again and again and again. When we like to talk about the idea that a lot of these children growing up in a few years will go into school and they'll have, other people see videos of their moms on OnlyFans. And we say, how damaging that's going to be. Imagine seeing a video of your father being killed constantly. And everyone has a take, and everyone has something to say about it, and everyone has a point, and everyone has something to say, oh, this, and that. So I think at the very least, if you feel like, yeah, you know what, good, good. I think at the very least, you could just kind of be quiet about it, right? Let the people grieve, you know, let them grieve, let them have their moment. You can say what you want to say. We don't have to be disrespectful about it. We can just say, yeah, it's a shame that what's happened to him. But if you want to even point out, hey, you had a hand in that sort of rhetoric. You had a hand in breeding that sort of environment. I can even understand that, right? But what I personally, when I would see some of his videos, what I liked about Charlie Kirk, right, was that he would invite people to have the conversation. Yeah, just like Michael Besser, you're saying, yeah, Charlie invited many to try to debate, but 9 times out of 10, yeah, you saw if he's coming with an obvious premise. He said one of the big ones that, yes, school, college is a scam. That's what he's coming with. That's what he's coming with. And then you come there and you'll say something like, yeah, I'm an English major, and he'll name English, like famous English authors that should have been part of the curriculum. You don't know what he's saying, right? People, this is what I was having this conversation with today. People are taking their feeling of everything, their emotional attachment of everything. This happens all throughout our life. This is how we sometimes become indoctrinated, sometimes how we become this is how we learn, right? Just follow me. You feel and you have a feeling attached to this thing. That becomes your truth. You don't have any lived experience about it. You didn't experience this thing. You just feel very strongly. I feel very strongly about World War II. I wasn't there. When someone comes and starts saying, "Oh, let me give you a better one," I feel very strongly about about the moon landing. But I never experienced it. I can't tell you whether it's fact or fiction. But when you come and you say, "Well, here's evidence that it wasn't, that this was fake, this was staged. Here are the economic reasons. Here's this, here's that," and instead of listening to you, I get argumentative. I get angry with you. Well, this is all because you are basically attacking what I've accepted as a truth, accepted into my ideology. I say this because I'm emotionally attached to it, but that none of that is real, right? And unless you actually have lived experience on that, you can attest. Yes, yes, I do. I. So this is what's happening, right? If you felt so strongly you disagree with Charlie Kirk, you had an avenue to go and talk to them. You have an avenue to go. Social media connects us like nothing else before. You had an avenue to go here and say, hey, you're wrong about these things. And I could prove it. I can show you, right? You had that ability to do all those things, but we don't take those. This guy, and when the internet and the media is gonna dig through his life and bring up every skeleton, everything that ever went wrong, and we'll have more information about them. Even when you look at the publications and stuff that he left, you can see how influential the internet has been, discords and Reddit. You can see how influential that was on his life. And if you go on some of these places in general, you already know some places lean a certain way. Certain information is propagated, others are just kind of like left by the wayside. So it's something, I think it's a good example of what we should be cognizant of. We should be aware of how these things end up changing us, how they push us one way or another, how they let go, or they ask of you your independence and your own critical thinking. That should be the takeaway. That we should, at least, at the very least, still try to have these dialogues. Even at the ceremony, the wake service, people got violent. I think it says a lot more about us. But continue on that trip, right? There was a couple people recently, and I just got a couple examples that were fired, right? Imagine losing your job because of a post of a man you never met. There's a junior sustainability strategist at NASDAQ, fired for social media posts related to the fatal shooting of confidential influencer Charlie Kirk. NASDAQ cited zero tolerance policy uh, against commentary perceived as supporting or celebrating violent acts. Right? At the end of the day, we have to remember these corporations are going to think about their bottom line, their own existence. You do something like this that goes against how it makes them look, especially in a place of tragedy like this, they lose it, and you'll lose it. Right? Carolina Panthers football communications coordinator Charlie Rock fired up to make an Instagram post mocking the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Again, if you're a football commentator, there's some overlap in some areas, but not much. This is outside your lane, right? I know Amanda Seals was saying like, I don't have any compassion for them, right? I don't have any compassion, man. Okay, I get why you're in that lane, in that zone, why you feel like that. The problem is, again, in the Black community, we often are asking for compassion. We're all often asking for you to understand our plight and the causes of what got us here. You cannot ask for something you're not willing to also extend. It just keeps furthering divide. And like I was telling my barber today, you don't want a world in which they believe that this is the new norm. You don't want that sort of world, because the way it ends up being policed means you lose more and more rights. If you think of those that are old enough to remember what life was like pre 9/11 versus after 9/11, you think about the how many freedoms were surrendered in the sake of keeping you safe. How many things were created in the sake of keeping you safe? How many black sites, illegal black sites, were filled with prisoners that have no type of rights in the sake of in the sake of keeping you free? If this becomes a norm, if this is celebrated as the norm, that if I don't agree with you and you get visible, actual following, then taking your life is on the table. And what we don't understand, what we don't realize is, and I'm not condoning this, I'm not saying to do this, but it's not difficult. It's not difficult. And the ironic part could be some of the things that he championed and the his love for the Second Amendment. Yeah, we have access to tools that can do this to you very easily, simply and very easily. So it's something we need to be cognizant. We need to be aware of. We need to say, listen, we can all take some time and be quiet and say, like, yeah, this wasn't it, right? This wasn't it. So, Ole Miss employee was fired over making hurtful, intensive comments on social media about Charlie Kirk's assassination. A healthcare worker, anesthesiologist in Virginia, terminated for making highly inappropriate comments on social media supporting violence against a public figure in response to Charlie Kirk's death. Right? So these are simply about Charlie Kirk, right? But then we also are familiar when people do lose their jobs because of the internet, right? What was it? There was a flight attendant for Alaska Airlines. I think we, I know this passed around in the, pretty wide. Allegedly fired for posting TikTok video dancing, twerking in airline uniform. Right? If you're depending on what side of the internet you're on, you probably saw that, before she was even fired. And Sam Kossel, a Milwaukee weather reporter, fired after criticizing Elon Musk, labeling something he did as Nazi salute on Instagram. Again, we all saw that. We all saw the memes. We all laughed. We all joked. Your job is watching, right? Like your job is watching what you do. We like to try to separate ourselves, our personal lives, and work, right? They're very much intertwined. You work at a company, you show. There was a nurse that was recently fired, um, just because the angle in which she took the shot, and I think maybe her ID revealed like what hospital she worked in. So I would hate for anyone in this economy to lose your job because, right, you shared something. Can even be, sometimes it doesn't have to be you. You shared something that was offensive that your company took and said, this is not it. right? This stuff like this is unnecessary. It's an unforced error. You don't have to live like this. Um, so we'll go through a couple more kind of cases. Kurt Schilling fired after Facebook post about transgender issues that ESPN said violated company policy. Ron Bergdorf, model who lost a contract with L'Oreal after Facebook comments about race were rather viewed as controversial. This has always been happening, and now it's just more prevalent. And now it's happening to people that are on very minute levels. Now you're a regular person like me, boom, your job's gone. Like, how do you now deal with that? How do you now move and shake with that? You're especially if you have a family, you have people that are looking for you, counting on you, and need you in their lives. What happens, right? Something like that is terrible. Just because in a moment of this emotional, all right, I'm going to hit and share. Well, you should be sharing in my videos, right? That's what we should be sharing, right? We try to keep it classy, try to keep it above board. You should be out here just saying, okay, I have an opinion on this. I can write something. The truth is, the internet, like it, we think it's anonymous. Where was that I saw the guy talking about someone that came to his stream and said all these racist comments, and he was like, "Yeah, it's very easy to find out who you are." And he started naming all the details about his employment. I think he was in the military. Started talking all these things about him. Say, "Yeah, none of this is going to stop you." The guy then came back and started like crying, holding up his kids, saying like, "I've got kids." The internet is very unforgiving. Your job is very unforgiving. Your job is not your friend. You know, your job is not your friend. Um, So this is just something I want everyone to be, very aware, very cognizant of. Stuff like this happens, right? All the time. And more so, more now, especially when things are more divisive and more electrically charged. I think we have to be cognizant, and I'm saying that a lot today because I want us to be aware. I want us to be on our toes. What what's happening today in our society? What administration do we fall under? Where some things seem more tolerable in a previous administration versus now. How some companies, how if you pay attention, a lot of private sectors end up mirroring the federal. So as one sways one way, so does the other. Sometimes there's a time lapse in between. Other times it's immediate. So if we have a president that doesn't play that, you're probably going to find private sectors that say, yeah, we don't play that either. We know because a lot of times you want to protect yourself from lawsuits. You want to protect yourself from your information being out there. But if it's good for the federal, it's good for us. So what did the federal do? They struck the government. Right? They got rid of people. Who felt that brunt of that first? You know, black women felt that first, right? In the massive amount of layoffs. What happens? Then the private sector mirrors the same thing. So it's okay. We don't need these positions. And what are you going to sue us? It's not even federally protected status. So we always have to be aware of where we find ourselves. And that links back to, again, when we try to be like, have no compassion for this man that is now was shot on live TV, and it's available forever. I have no compassion for his kids, no compassion for his family because they were attached to him. I've seen some terrible takes. People say they're probably just like him. His kids are 1 and 3, 1 and 3 years old. That's to me that's one of the saddest things that you can ascribe to a child. You have no idea. You have no idea. Like, again, some people are able to compartmentalize these things and say, "This is what I do for work. This is what I do when I go back home," and there's very little in between that. This is all that stuff. You need to be able to drop it. You need to be able to leave it alone. You need to be able to go about your business. You need to be able to live your life. I think that's a critical thing. Give me 1 second. I need to see if I can invite Yanni into this. Uh, all right. So yeah, what we want to be aware of that our actions have consequences, have very real consequences, and when it's frightfully difficult for people to find a job today, you don't want to be on the side of you lost your job because you couldn't say the right thing, you couldn't understand what to do, what not to do. We don't. I don't want to see that happen to anyone. Anyone that subscribes to the channel, and if you don't want me to see that happen to you, you should also consider subscribing to the channel. Um, so yeah, moving on. What I also wanted to discuss today, right? Um, we need to sort of move away sometimes and separate our online, persona, right? But sometimes that's a difficult thing for you to do. That's why I want to introduce the first sponsor for the channel. I'm playing. I'm playing. There's no sponsor for the channel. What I want to talk about, this channel is 9/11 made 3 months for the channel, right? And I wanted to share some of the challenges I found just with YouTube, and then strategies just to kind of deal with that sort of negativity. Because whenever you put yourself forward, whenever you put yourself out there, there is a large part of that people are going to say, I completely disagree with what you have to say. And instead of talking about those things, sometimes what people instead want to do is simply do, send ad hominems your way. They want to make fun of you, they want to insult you, and they want to use that somehow to, I don't know, make them feel better. Uh, and in the beginning, you have this idea that everything you do is going to be loved. Everything that you put out is people are going to resonate with it. And even if they don't agree with it, they're going to be respectful about it. After 3 months and I think 200 plus videos, something like that. That is not the case, right? That has not been the case. But the best thing it's sometimes you need these small little hiccups, these small little adversities to cut your teeth again, right? You need to actually use this to sharpen yourself, to find where you're weak, the little chinks in the armor. You need to say, okay, this is where I'm not. This is where I'm making mistakes. That's been one of the big takeaways. And of course, just sometimes sitting down and just doing the work, just leaving that stuff alone, just doing the work. Put out the videos, say what you want. Don't be afraid to be controversial. But again, I want to try to link all this together in the light of what happened to Charlie Kirk. And I'm not saying that I'm talking in sense those sort of divisive terms, but it's almost this knee jerk reaction that people end up walking back and being careful about what they're saying online, right? You have, say, like Myron Gaines on that same sort of track saying similar things. It's a different audience that he's trying to galvanize and sort of push, and he's been on that track for over a year. But people in those spaces that go to the college spaces, go to these places that are very easy for you to infiltrate, very easy for you to set something up, just like we saw. This is going to have this negative sort of effect where people start walking back how they're feeling, um, what they're thinking, and what they're saying. We want to have more, dialogue. We want to be able to sit back and go back and forth with us, right? What are we talking about in the chat here? Who's all capping it? I'll let you guys sort it out. We want to go. We want to actually have a place where we can create a dialogue. We want to have a place where we can disagree with one another and not feel as if there's something wrong about that. There's something um, sort of abhorrent about that. We need to be able to talk, right? Like you guys are doing in chat. If you're, being able to talk, that was what you should be doing. The amount of negativity or the negative bias we have in our lives that tends to swing us one way, that's a real dangerous thing. I see it online just in 3 months about how people can argue back and forth in comment sections, and sometimes how often the worst type of hot takes, get the most attention, and people want to flock towards the negativity. It's very hard to post something positive and think that it will resonate with people. And I think I found that not weird, because I think we've all seen it. We all live it. That's the thing that we consume online, and it makes sense to us. That's why you'll see videos of that video of Charlie Kirk being shot circulating again and again and again and again and again. I don't know. I won't say it's probably the human condition. It's something that we constantly should sort of fight. Fight to say, oh no, we should be better than this. With that said, we have that real understanding that some of us are going to be left behind. Right? Some of us are going to have to be left behind, and we can't really do anything with them. We can't really move the way we need to move with them, because some of us are so jaded and so sort of broken, so traumatized that this is what we look for. This is what we look forward to. There we go. Yanni's coming up. Hey, hey, hey. Can you hear me?
Hello, hello, hello. Happy Saturday to everybody.
I think I see you, but I think you may have a little delay on your end.
Can you hear
Let's
me?
see. I can hear you, but you're a bit frozen. It seems every time you come over to this space, you get frozen. Frozen or
Okay,
there's
what
like a
about
lag.
now? You still
Yeah, well, now, oh, we had it for a second. We're good now. We're good.
we're good?
We're good. Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay.
So,
Hey everybody, happy Saturday.
so I was just talking about, give you a quick overview because I know you had other business to take care of. We're talking about linking the Charlie Kirk situation, how we lack sort of compassion, right?
Okay.
When we see a lot of people of our skin color saying, F him, F everything that looks like him and his entire family. But we're often on the side of needing compassion. When we look
Right.
at our position in the United States, and through a whole host, starting with the original sin of the United States, we need compassion for our plight. When we aren't where we need to be in life, we're asking compassion of the people in charge. She dipped out. Uh, Hopefully, she'll be able to join back in. So, yeah, we'll just jump back and forth when she comes in. We need that. We need that compassion. We need people that can actually, whenever you're speaking to power, whenever you're speaking to, say, people in authority, we end up talking to them because we want them to see our way. It's going to be very difficult, and there's very little incentive for them to believe to do that when one of their own is killed by one of their own, and we just step back and say, well, whatever, it's good. That happens. Largely, what I wanted to do related to a more generalized topic, because I also talked about a bunch of people that lost their job because they said and posted insensitive comments about this, and we don't want that to be anyone here. We're not going to say anything like that. We're not going to have HR bring us in the room on Monday morning and say, "You said this, 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 this. You're on the way out."
Right.
But when we talk about, in terms of, I talked about being, this channel is 3 months old, and I was talking about the negativity that I experienced on the channel. You've been on YouTube a lot longer than me. I want to know what type of negativity have you seen, and how have you dealt with it in order to just kind of maybe let some stuff roll off your back, or just, what, I got to still continue to create.
I think that, like I said, I want to say like my first couple months on YouTube were kind of peaceful. I noticed anytime you go against what everyone wants you to go against, or anytime you have your own thoughts, or anytime you have your own opinion, people kind of get offended by that, because a lot of times what happens, particularly in this sector, is people wait for other people to make a move, right? They
Hmm.
wait for other people to make a move. They watch to see what you're going to say. They watch to see what thumbnail you're going to use. They watch. And then you have a couple people, like I said, who were here when I first started. So we don't really have that issue. But there's a lot of newbies here. And the newbies are chasing after a dollar that might not even necessarily be there for you. Because let's be honest, I mean, it's more to YouTube than just putting out a video and waiting for the ads to roll. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And especially talking about something so small and so minute compared to, vast topics that are way more important than that, just like this Charlie Kirk situation, right? That's something that, whether we're on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Thread, you name it, people are going to know what we're talking about, right? But if I go to Thread and talk about the mommies, or if I go to here and I talk about the mommies, everybody's not really going to understand that. So you have a
Hmm.
really dog eat dog world when it comes to the new people in regards to the mommy sector, because they're chasing after something that they think exists, right? They're chasing after something that they think is there, but what they don't understand is you can't do what Yanni does and think that you're going to get the same results, because Yanni doesn't just do YouTube. Yanni just doesn't do, reactions. And they like to critique Yanni, but they don't want to go into what else I do. They don't want to talk about the plethora of other things that I do to generate an income. They don't talk about the way that I encourage multiple sources of income, especially in an economy like we live in today. So when you have people who are pocket watching and view watching and support watching and super chat watching because they're not getting it themselves, that's where the hate comes in. Nobody just wakes up and decides that they're going to hate Yanni out of nowhere. And to be honest, what I said, and that's why I said when we had that last conversation, my content is a lot more calm these days than it was when I first began. And so when you really sit back and think about how you used to really cut up and carry on and all of the support you had versus now when you kind of have an understanding, you kind of have a calling, you kind of have a direction, you kind of see clearly, you and then it's like people that are kind of hesitant, they support but they're in the background, they like you but then they don't. You kind of so if you're smart, you're able to see honestly it's really all the enemy in disguise. You know what I'm saying? When people see that you are doing content that is not just about the mommy, oh, they'll tell you you're nothing without the mommies, right? You can't do anything without the mommies, or you can't do anything without this. But then when you do it, then they're knocking that, right? I went back home to New York to cover the Diddy trial. I got a lot of support. So what works for me is ignoring the negativity because first of all, I already know where the negativity comes from. The negativity is coming from somebody I'm not paying any mind to. And I'm going to be very honest when I say I don't watch other reactors. There's no need to. You get what I'm saying? If I'm a reactor and my thought is my thought, I can watch you to support, but I'm not watching it for it to make a difference in what I just said because I'm the channel holder of my content.
Yeah.
And so, again, if you don't have your own mind or if you don't have your own way of thinking, you're going to be intimidated by somebody else. You're going to be hated, just like there was everybody that was running with easy, 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 easy. Everybody was in your comments, right? The minute you and I team up and the minute you and I work together, the minute you and I have conversation outside of what they're accustomed to, now it's all of this Easy's gay, Easy's got this, Easy's got that. But before Yanni teamed up, everybody was in your comments windmilling because I watched them.
Yep.
They were all in your comments. They were all kissing your ass. Everybody wanted to talk and chat and give you information and catch you up. And the minute you kind of can see, and that's what people don't understand. Negativity doesn't understand that the real can see you.
Yeah.
People have they have a way of just like somebody's in the chat here referring to me as snipes, whatever case it be, right? People have for example, you think that you're gonna come in here and say all of those things about me and then go in the back end and team up with Easy and y'all gonna work together? No, I just need people to understand it. Same way people go and hit up Gerard like Gerard's going to work with you. Same way people go and do DM Gerard like Gerard. I rock with people the way I rock with people, and I have conversations where I need to have conversations with people. So what they get from me, you're going to have to do a little bit more than throwing dirt on my name to kind of infiltrate that. You know what I'm saying? And people don't
Hmm.
like that. I figured that out, and that goes across the board. For example, if my sources are direct sources, what do I need to watch the next chick for? Right. So it's a lot of that going on. So you have to recognize that it's hatred. You have to recognize that it's unclear spirits. And when you ask yourself, what did I do to this person? Right? What did I directly do to this person? And if the answer is nothing, you already know what it is.
I think that was going to be one of the first questions when I had the first live. What I wanted to ask you, like, why is there so much negativity? But again, my issue is that on that end. But what I've saw, right, and just one thing I was clear. Yeah, I'll talk with anyone who's willing to talk and have, and the requisite was we got to have a civil conversation.
Right.
Right? When you and I talk, we don't name anyone's names. We don't go look to bash. The conversations we always have has always been about what can we learn, how can we do better, right?
Right.
That's always one of like a through line. And what I've tried to do is simply hold to that, right? And when people were in the email were telling me, yo, this and this is being said about you, I looked at it and I said, well, if these
Right.
were fine or felt like, oh, okay, I've got to
Right.
I know whatever feedback from my channel. You go ahead and baby see, just like, no, he's not. You may disagree with it. Some
Mhm.
people have even going as far as say, like, yo, I'm bashing people. And I'm like, if you think this is bashing, you should check out actual other content creators, right? You should look at what people are actually calling people these type of names. I'm just saying, let's keep it above board. Let's see what we can learn. Let's use these as examples. When people go that negative, to me, it already shows something about themselves. And that's always been my thing. I don't want to work with you if you're going to be negative.
Right.
I'm not. Yes, I want the channel to grow, and I've heard someone was saying that if I really wanted, this channel to take off, and why should I do a live with you? And I'm like, one, the people that were commenting on the space, they recommended you, and then you reached out to me even before that, and you were very polite, you were very amicable. I was like, well, why would I not want to talk to this person? So I've tried to stay in that space of let me make my own decision. Let
Right.
me make my own decision about someone's character before I just take it what someone else is saying as gospel. There's an advantage of coming into a space that's already been formed, right? The
Right.
the the mommy sector or the mommy verse, which I think you guys should adopt the name, the mommy verse. Um, we're different. We have a different set of eyes. We're unused to this comments. What's happening? We can see things and say, "Wow, that's weird."
Right.
What's more weird is why. Here's a video about a certain person doing something that's bad for their kids. Why are we talking about everything else about a specific person? If
Right.
that person has their own story, I'd love to hear it. If someone else has another story, I'd love to hear it. But we're all just going to talk in a respectful manner, right? That
Right.
that just has to be a prereq. And once that seemed like, yo, we did our thing over here in a
Mhm.
respectful manner. No, no shots were thrown. All that talk of like, hey, let's do this together. You should get this. Go, go. And I don't feel like I've taken sides. I've told people I'm willing to have a conversation with someone, with anyone who wants to come through. Doesn't matter your subscriber count. If you have a view
Right.
you want to share, let's do it. But that negativity, I think, when that negative spirit holds on to you, it shows itself in so many different ways. It
It,
shows
it
itself in
does
so many
show
different ways.
itself, and I think that people are unaware that they shine. That negativity shines bright. When you come in the room with negative energy, or you're trolling, or you're throwing darts around. For example, you and I are talking, we're conversing, right? So what you also have to understand is here, baby. What you also have to understand about the mind is we're here, right? I never posted, you didn't post. We kind of just started where we're starting, right? For people to know that I'm here, you everywhere I'm at. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I don't be where y'all be trolling. You're never gonna
yeah.
catch me in anyone's chat looking for. It's
Or yeah,
weird
in
to
the
me. I have too
Discord,
much
I'm not.
emotion of my own to go and look. And so once you start to see that, and that's why certain individuals, as far as the mom is concerned, feel like they're the cat's pajamas because everybody has her name in their mouth. So if you feel like every time I turn around, this person is watching, you know where I'm going, you know where I'm eating. Obviously, there's something about me that is worth you watching because I'm not watching you. Not subscribe to you, don't know what you did this weekend, don't know what you ate, but you know what I ate, what I did, what my child did, what my child said. So that lets me know I'm giving you a show. And one thing about me that sets me aside from everybody else, I like to perform. I'm an entertainer. So let me know that you're watching because now I'm going to give you something to watch. Now I'm going to just troll you. And see, what people have to understand is when you play this game, it's a game, it's the internet. As long as I know how
Yeah,
to get my money at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. And for those who are new, those who are just coming on the scene with low CPMs and low algorithm and don't even know how the analytics work, you can't your bag is not going to compete with mine because again, I got 6 years in with algorithm, 6 years in with CPM, 6 years in with building. So focus on your content instead of going against me. Why not reach out, yo, Yanni? What's going on? I see you do reactions. How you get it? Say how I seen you come on the scene. I hit you up like, yo, I see you new to the game. This,
hmm
that, and the third. That's how you show love. That's how you bring people in. It's not. This is weird. When you start conquering, dividing, and don't work with her. Don't work with her. And don't work with. All I asked you was, don't put me on a panel with certain individuals. I never came. You're a grown ass man. Who you gonna work with is who you gonna work with. And I'm not. I'm not opposed to that. You get what I'm saying? Because your experience with someone might not be the same experience as mine, right?
yeah,
So who am I to come and tell you how to maneuver? I just ask out of respect. When it come to me and you conversing, I just need, or unless it's somebody that I get along with, I just like to have my own space, and that's just me. If other people want to do, that's on them. So people always, again, are watching what I have going on, but they always have a problem with what I have going on. So I don't understand it. But like I said, what I noticed this sector is very, very small, and there are very few people that go outside the box. There are very few people who switch their content, talk about other topics, other crimes, other things that are going on in the world, other parts of town. So there are some people who have figured that out. There's some people who just left, right? They went back to their job, they went pursued their education, but then there's that small group of people who are trying to find their way And if Yanni don't post, they don't have any content. If this one don't post, they don't have any
Yeah.
content. If Easy don't kind of post, so there's nothing to really piggyback off of. So that's where you see like a lot of people, for example, like if I'll say, for example, I can say right now, I'm not speaking about Olivia for a month. There's going to be the same group of individuals that'll come tell me I gotta talk about it. If I don't, I'll go homeless. If I don't, I'll lose it all. If I don't, I won't eat. These are all the people that are telling me this, right? But that's the enemy trying to trick me out of my spot. The enemy wants me to believe without discussing her, I'll be nothing. Without discussing her, I'll go broke. Without discussing her, I'll be homeless. But the enemy needs me to help them. The enemy needs me to give them content so they can eat. The enemy needs me to help them so they don't starve. The enemy needs it so that they don't go homeless, which is why people have already exposed themselves. And they've already exposed the fact that if they don't get a YouTube check, they'll be homeless. So one thing about God, he has a way of revealing things. And God he has a sense of humor, right? So when people try to attack me about what will happen with my finances, these are the same people that God has exposed, literally, their face on YouTube, begging to YouTube's community center to release their coins. Because if they don't, they'll be broke. Right. So why would I be threatened by that same individual telling me what I won't be without money? But you already just told YouTube what you won't be without it. I never told YouTube what I was going to be. I walked away from YouTube. Right. So you have
Listen,
to be stronger than the enemy.
some of these people, if you're making that much money on YouTube, yeah, give me a master class, right? Because,
Right.
uh, like, again, I know I'm still new in this space, and shout out to new subscribers. Shout out to you, Shimmy, 32-year-old male, new subscriber. Listen, every subscriber, everything, I took a step back from the analytics because I was driving myself crazy. But every new
Right.
subscriber, I feel like it's a bit of rejuvenation. It kind of solidifies and says, all right, what you're doing, you're trying to grow this space, grow this channel. So just want a quick appreciation for you guys. And for those of you who have not subscribed, just hit the button, right? Hit the
Hit the
like.
subscribe.
Get the numbers up. Let's run the numbers up. Again, 3-month-old channel. But yeah, when you become that content, and I'm not there. When my name was being brought up in certain circles, I was just like, oh, I'm flattered. And then I went
Right.
back to other
Because you're
things in
like, I
life I
didn't
have
even
to do.
know people was checking for me. Like,
Right.
I
I
didn't
didn't
even
know.
know what hate was until YouTube. I'm gonna be very
Right.
honest. I didn't even know what hate was. Like everybody's like, people are tainted. They and I'm like, no, no,
Yeah.
because I'm so cool. I'm like, hate on me for what? Like, I'm cool with everybody. But
Right.
you'll be surprised.
I was surprised, and I know again that if I'm not in those spaces, if I'm not diving deep into certain areas, then I'm never really going to be cognizant of what's going on. And to me, that's fine. I think
Right.
you need to have a buffer, right? I'm an entrepreneur, and I guess you call it an entrepreneur a couple times over. But I've written books. I've gotten to real estate. Now this YouTube journey. There's a part of it that's like you put the thing
Hold
out
on,
and then
real
you put it
quick.
away.
Don't try to hit him up now, ladies. All y'all that was in the chat, don't hit him up now. We've got your
Like,
screen name. Y'all said what
yeah.
y'all said. Y'all was watching that pocketbook in my boy background. Don't worry about it. Don't now. No, don't. That's why. Yeah, keep
Yeah,
going. They gonna
I
come
like,
now. Ooh, he wrote a book. No, no, no,
yeah,
no. He got a big
I like,
forehead. He gave with a pocketbook in the bag. Let's
yeah,
continue.
back home, yeah,
I'm on it.
I like switching up the pocketbooks and colors. And shout out to Apple with the new iPhone. I'm definitely gonna be abusing that orange and orange combo. But yeah, sometimes you put the stuff out and you set it down, right? That's probably been the healthiest thing I've done recently. You put the stuff out, you set it down, right? And then work has been crazy right now, so it's helped me not constantly check, and then you get caught up with every single up and every single like, oh, you gained subscribers today, and then I lost 2, 3, 4 subscribers. I was gonna keep talking. Maybe she comes back on. So it becomes like this dangerous game, this dangerous thing to constantly be in that data in that sense. So
Right.
I just put it together as part of this thing that you have to learn to thicken your skin about about YouTube. I consider myself a babe. I'm not gonna say toddler. Like again, 3 months in the space versus some of you guys that I look at as giants. You've been here 6 years. Some people have been doing it, 15 years. At a certain point, you're going to have to pivot away from certain creators,
Right.
right? If there's only a certain point in time when you're looking at, say, Olivia, and you're saying, "Hey, I think you should get help." Yeah, regardless of my pockets, regardless of what happens, I think you need help because at a certain point, you may ruin those kids.
Right.
right? You should
and
have,
it's and it's not hate, it's me observing and really visualizing what the potential could be. And I think that that's what they're not understanding. I think they're so caught up in who the messenger is that they're not understanding the message. And again, granted, I understand sometimes delivery might not be what you want, or but I thought that, just to interject really quick right here where you're speaking this point, I thought it was very interesting when I can't think of the other gentleman's names, but he did a reaction on the young lady, and he wasn't as nice as you were. He wasn't as kind as you were. He referred to her as a couple of little nicknames. He called her bigums and all types of stuff, and she was smitten. I mean, she wanted to prove herself and send her court documents and
wow,
prove how she. I mean, I was like, so. What I noticed with that particular individual is she doesn't know how to, because even when you, before you and I had did that panel, everybody was talking about you and how you were kind, you were nice. She knew who you were, but she really didn't know how to put anything to it because there was nothing for her to put. You wouldn't say anything negative. The minute that you and I had teamed up, it was all of this extra stuff. But I say all that to say, even in that moment of just noticing that she doesn't know how to identify with civilization. She doesn't know how to identify with someone who was speaking to her in a respectful manner. Soon as that man started calling her bigums and this that, she thought she liked him. Even when Antoine Daniels roasted her, she said he was attractive. So she's one of those people, and I think it's a defense mechanism. I think subconsciously, whoever treats her the worst, that's who she locks in with. Because once I've seen that you're going to treat me, there's nothing really more else to come from. But if I interact with someone who's kind and I fall for you, and then you're opposite of kind, I'm heartbroken. But if I just take you as an asshole, then I just take you as an asshole. Just like you said, oh, I like confrontation and I like a man to control me and tell me what to do. You can tell she's never been with a man who's respected her, and she's never seen a man respect a woman. She's never been in a two-parent household, because if she did, that would be normal to her. Someone speaking
right.
ill, and she didn't even know the difference in your commentary versus the other. She didn't even have sense enough to decipher there was a difference.
Yeah,
Stevie Wonder could have read that in Braille.
when you are completely used to that negativity, right? And you've got these pathways in your life, and this is the easiest thing for you to relate to. You know the input A, output B. It's safe. It's very
Right,
safe. You think
right,
that this is the way it's supposed to be, and when sometimes, and this happens to all of us. This is genderless. This is a genderless device. When that's how you were initially, sort of like we talked about last time about your childhood trauma, initially this is how you were raised, this is how things were for you, you adhere to that. And she's
right,
she's she's done a wonderful job of showcasing that throughout the years in her videos. So yeah,
right,
if she doesn't really know what box to place me in, just place me in a box of someone that is concerned and wishes your children, sort of the best. I'm not out
right.
here to sort of disparage you. I think she's very good with makeup. Like that's I'm not anything but makeup, but the differences I see sometimes, like, wow, this is very good. This is
It's
this is
right,
dangerous. It's a dangerous thing for people to get caught up in. But
right,
I don't think people are as far as so past the point of being redeemed that we should just sort of, all right. I think if she got a lot of help, a lot of people would wonder, what am I going to react to now? What happens
right,
after what happens after Olivia? I'm gonna say is gone, but say what happens after Olivia is healed? What happens after the controversy is gone? Where do you go?
right.
Where do you
Right.
pivot?
But that's how I know people aren't ready for her to change, because they'll tell her get off. They'll tell her do this. They'll tell her do that. But like you just said, if she decided she's not going to give you guys anything for 45 days, what will you do while you're worrying about what I'm going to do? While I'm sitting here minding my business in my home, minding my business, what are you going to do? Because again, I've realized early on that you've got to get more than one bag when it comes to social media. And that's, for me, that was the whole point of building an audience. The whole point of building an audience for me was to be able to further market different endeavors that I'm already in. Whether it's workout, whether it's hair oil, whether it's eyelashes, whether it's master classes, whether it's meet and greets, one on one, you name it, I'm going to sell it to whoever finna buy it. And that's just, I'm into social media marketing. If you don't understand it, if you don't respect it, then that's fine. But I've always came here. The minute I came on YouTube selling stuff, I've always done that. And I've always utilized my audience to market those things and further grow and expand those things. But again, I've always had a blueprint. I've always had a game plan for my time on YouTube. There's no need for me to be on YouTube if I'm not generating no income. And I'm gonna be honest with you, a Google AdSense check ain't enough for me. So at the end of the day, I think that you have to figure it out. Am I going to use this to network? Am I using this to grow? Am I using this to meet people? Am I using this to connect? Am I trying what business am I building? What leadership am I trying to engage in? Because like you said, at some point you've got to pivot. At some point you've got to move on. Again, we've been doing this for 6 years. So in between time, of course, I'm gonna talk about this and talk about that because not only that, you have to understand she's been doing this for so long. She knows now how to play this game. So what we're getting now is not even actual content. What we're getting now is trolling. So if you're reacting to trolling, technically you're reacting to a lie. So technically you're wasting your time giving your real thoughts and opinions behind an act that is premeditatedly fake.
What we should realize, what we should look at, and people like Olivia have done it right. You become the content.
Right.
Whatever you say is the content. Whatever you say brings the views. You just getting ready in you're in the kitchen cooking, right? And people are in there. And not only they're in there, they're donating, they're super chatting. They're giving their
Right.
money just to see what you will do. And if you have no care for the sort of future, how that goes, then you can just continue to do this, forever and
Right.
ever. Um, that's at eventually at some point in time, like you said, you become the content. You have to go to these different spaces, these different places. You have to get the back from here, get the back from here, get the back from here. What I'm seeing a lot now of, because what in the 3 months I've been on YouTube, I've seen the algorithm do whatever the algorithm wants to do. Content that was hitting yesterday now falls flat, right? Or something randomly like, okay, I'm just putting out there. I think this is a good video, and nothing happens, and then 2 days later, it blows up. It's hard to pinpoint what's happening, and the more
Right.
you become reliant on this as your source of income,
Right.
the more dangerous you become to having to do the negative content.
Right.
You fall into that, and that now becomes who you are. You are looking and you are scouring the internet for negativity. When
Mhm.
you go out to the rest of your life, and since you've never separated the two, this is who you are. You see life in those lenses, right? There's a lot of
Right.
times I'll get on the phone with my best friend Blair, and we'll just shoot the shit, and we'll call it a palate cleanser, right? Or I'll look at cute baby videos, something just to like, let that go, let that go,
Ease your mind down.
and
Right. Ahada
yeah,
in the comments, she's saying, she said the girl lied, told people that she lost her apartment and everything in it. She never was homeless. She should have to pay every dime back. And you're right, Ahada, but this is what I'm saying to Easy about how she's now beginning to shift the narrative of what YouTube is, right? Ahada
mhm,
is giving her real honest and thoughts and opinions based off really believing what was shown to her, correct?
yeah,
But what Ahada and other content creators have to understand is she's premeditatedly creating these lies in her head, right? So again, for example, she woke up one day and she said, "I need some money. I'm gonna get on here and tell them." Just think about this. You're minding your business. She wakes up. She know what's in her bank account. I'm homeless today. She opened. I ain't got. Okay, so I'm about to get on YouTube. Jasmine has done it. I'm about to get on YouTube and I'm gonna tell them I'm homeless. So hopefully they cash at me some money. This is already in her mind before she hit go live. You didn't know that this was on her mind. So just because you know she's a liar, think about all of the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people who have never seen her before. So now they're
mhm,
watching. Again, all they see is a woman with two kids in the rain, running around, looking crazy, crying. They in the car. She has all this stuff piled up in the back. So you have people who are new and don't really understand the games and don't understand that she's trolling and take it for what it is. And then you have the people like I had it myself who were one day was like, yo, this don't make no sense. Like she's not homeless, like she's lying. So it's even though we can see it, she knows other people can't see it. So her ability to continuously lie, it's going to work for her. That's why we, as the people who know better, have to stop giving her a voice, have to stop giving her the attention, have to stop giving her that green light to keep going. If nobody pays her any mind,
mhm.
she'll have nobody. If you notice, her foolishness has declined in the last week because nobody's watching the foolishness. The
Yeah,
foolery
yeah.
decline ever since she pulled that stunt last week with that child and was supposed to go
Mhm,
get that child and look like a goddamn fool behind that child. She's been real quiet over there because she realizes, even myself, I'm the one that give it. I've taken a flight to go check Olivia.
mhm.
Yeah, I'm sure they told you that. So she
No,
already know
no,
how
they're
Ish can
not.
get. Oh yeah, I've taken a flight because she had a lot of this, and I made it clear I was never going to fight the young lady. She was 8 months pregnant. But where I come from, I like to have conversations when there's a lot of verbal activity going on. And so
Mhm,
I thought that it
mhm,
would be in my best interest to pull up on you and have a conversation. Nothing crazy. And when I got there, you ran out your shoes. You ran out the courtroom. I mean, you ran out the bathroom and you left your shoes remaining behind in the restroom. Right. So I've been there, done that when it comes to this young lady. Okay. She's a punk, and that's neither here nor there. But it was just to prove a point. Let's monitor this a little bit better.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah. I
So
think
I've
that
gone the
that's
mile, right? I've gone the mile. Yeah, I've gone the mile. And again, she's not somebody that's worth going the mile. That's why I'm explaining it to people now. At this point, because she's become the content, she doesn't have any content. She
yeah,
knows that she's the content. So what she does is she'll do something stupid, wait for all of the reactors to talk about it, and then she'll use what they say to push back or to fight
push
back,
back, yeah.
and that's her content. So she doesn't have any content. And if the reactors or just people in general were smart enough to realize she don't have no content, you would stop addressing her. She don't have none of content. That's why she went spewing last week. She has nothing to. She doesn't even know how to produce a vlog because Olivia has allowed the internet to really warp her mind into something other than what it was. And I understand that it's maybe easier said than done when you say if it doesn't apply, let it fly. I get that. But she has really allowed what people say about her to really consume her mind. What people say, she really believes it. Whether she comes on here and paints her face and dolls herself up, she really believes what people say about her. And that's why she continues to decline, because she doesn't understand that, oh, I shouldn't be watching Yanni. Yanni's a reactor. I shouldn't be watching Easy. Easy a reactor. Whether he's positive or negative, I shouldn't be watching these people who are discussing me. But because she's a glut for punishment and she's been that way, her ex-husband told us she's a sit and watch reactors all day. That's how I know, and I'm not being disrespectful. There's a deeper mental cognitive situation going there. And I used to work in the DDD field. Anytime you have older adult individuals who fantasize or their mind goes to places of imagination, again, approaching 40, cognitively, we're not on the same functioning page. She doesn't really understand the difference between reality and fantasy. And so she intertwines reality and makes a fantasy. And that's where things go a lot left for her. So, like I said, at this point, we're not reacting on reality. Her being homeless was a lie. So even that's fake. She was never pregnant. That's fake. So all of the things that we're reacting on, it's not real. So then what does that make us look like? Right. We're sitting here holding a chat with people for 20, 30, 40 minutes to 60 minutes talking about content that's staged and that's fake. Doesn't make any sense. Hey, eye for eye.
Thrown into this, and then it starts affecting our own lives, and then especially when you get that negative bias, you get that reaction when people come and they like support. They're like, yes, yes, yes. It's YouTube telling you people want to see more of this, but people
Right.
want to see more of what is essentially a lie. So when we dive into that, we end up doing ourselves a disservice. And listen, for everyone that just joined, we shot up to like 120 people in the chat. Hit the like button on your way in, just to push this further out to YouTube. Um, Hit the subscribe button if you like what we're talking about. Yanni and I, this is our second conversation, our second actually conversation. But
Right.
I always leave feeling like these are high level conversations. This is positive dialogue, even if sometimes we gotta get a little muddy. We walk. I think we always walk away feeling better about what we've discussed and how. I think that's the main thing, and how an actual discussion is held. And if you're interested in actually joining some of these conversations, just find my email in the description. We can go off to the side. We can talk about that. We can set something up. I'm always looking to set something up. New channel, really trying to grow. So these things help, and I think we're always better for the conversation.
Right.
All right. Sorry for that sidebar. I wish I just had
Because
a button
Yanni's
that could do
opinion
all
is
that.
not the only one that matters. And I don't like when people try to assume that that's the narrative. No. And
Yeah.
I said that to Easy from the beginning. Like, it's plenty of people that's been here from day one before me. It's plenty of subscribers that's been here before me. So, like, yeah, it's people that know what's going on, again, outside of the 6 years I've been here. So I never want people to feel like, oh, I'm not a content creator or I don't have a channel, so my opinion doesn't matter. For those of you that have been watching before me, before Easy, let them know what's going on. For those of you that were here before with, her with Chrissy or her with Kiera or whatever the case may be, because it gives context to people who are new. And this is
Yeah.
what happened. And this is how she was able to finesse the people with the GoFundMe or finesse the people with that Cash App scam, because there are people who are not are not familiar. They just come on the live stream and see what's going on. And so when you guys were hitting up Easy in the comments, we're hitting up Antoine Daniels, we're hitting up the GMT guy and just putting him on. Now people have better context. And now people, even women on TikTok, they're like, wait, hold on. And and the crazy part is she forgets her lies. Like, she told us she got her nails, they were press ons. She still's wearing the same acrylics that she had back in Florida. It's just like, and then you told us, now correct me if I'm wrong. You told us that you were pregnant in Florida by a man that was incarcerated, right? You said the man was incarcerated. And then you said that you were coming home to patch up a relationship with your youngest child's father. You then said that the man was coming into town. You then said that the man was no longer coming into town, but that there's another man that's coming in. So where are all of these men coming from? You went from the man in Florida that you was pregnant by, that you had an abortion by, to Kalani's dad coming to visit and you buying him oxtails, to he's not coming anymore because he's staying with a situation, but you got a new man that you're talking to that you're in love with, and he's the one.
Listen,
No, no,
one thing,
no, no. I'm just saying it.
one thing I learned about you guys in the mommyverse slash mommy sector, y'all are like y'all detectives. Y'all are detectives. I know we joke around saying women all should have jobs at the FBI because y'all are so good and y'all catch it immediately. It won't
Yeah.
be like something like,
So you didn't
let me
catch
pull
that,
up
Easy?
this.
You didn't catch that?
So listen, the videos I end up seeing, right? One thing I've always said in the videos, send me them, right?
Okay.
Send me the videos because my schedule has about 4 hours free, and they're free because I should be using them to sleep, but I'm not.
Right.
I'm like, all right, let me get this off the ground. Let me do this YouTube thing. The first video I did was about discipline, and I don't want to betray that, right? I think
Right.
that's been at the heart of everything I've ever been able to do. So I commit to at least 2 videos a day. So when someone sends me a subscriber like request, I'll review it, I'll look at it. But some people have sent me like 3 hour lives. And I'm
Right.
like, I don't
Where do
one,
I begin?
I don't have the context, right? You
Right.
see, like in a lot of those videos in the content, I was like, yo, what's the context? I
Right.
want you guys to come up and tell me what the context is here. So I understand who these players are. It's me coming into Game of Thrones season 4 and like,
Right.
wait, who? Who? What?
Right.
Wait,
And,
they did
and
what?
to be honest, a lot of the players are chill. Like, Chrissy has been figured it out. Chrissy is one of the smartest ones out here. Whether I don't know how Chrissy get money, that's neither here nor there. But she got tired of people playing with her like she wasn't the content. Like, she got tired of people forgetting how the F they get their views. And I respect it. And she got to a point where she was like, I want to keep playing with my kids. I want to keep doxing it. So I'm going to help y'all out. I'm going to help y'all out and I'm going to help me out. And then I'm going to remove myself. And then I want y'all to have fun. Now, granted, people have figured out how to maneuver without Chrissy, right? But then we were just left with Chrissy and Olivia. I mean, Jasmine, excuse me, and Olivia. And then for me, Jasmine, I can't really get into Jasmine. So, and then I'm not a bully either. Again, when I started reactions, I was pregnant, right? If you notice, I don't talk about any other woman. That's not my aura. That's not my disposition. That's not who I am. I make rapport with women. I do one-on-ones with women. I uplift women. I do prayer call. When people mothers die, they call me grandmothers, so on and so forth. So I never started this to be the girl that's just talking mad cash money ish about other women. No, it's gone there along the lines because, again, she's the only one, like I told you from Rip, out of all of them who never knew how to just take this for what it is. I'm not the
Right.
only reactor. So why am I always in your mouth? Right? I'm not the only one whose grandmother passed away. So why your son only spitting on my grandmother's grave? Why are you even telling your son to spit on my grandmother's grave? This is why you got your ass popped up before in the courthouse. Right. and you have a court date coming up on the 30th, and you hope that I'd be stupid enough to fly back out there. Absolutely not. You ran out your shoes before, you'll run out them again. I don't have time to play with the church's money, because let's be clear, that's who paid for the trip to get down there. Right.
Right.
So Olivia knows I'm not. Yeah, I'm not new to this, Easy. I'm true to this. I'm not. I'm not.
I got you. I
Right.
got you. But listen, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna take that. We're gonna set it aside. Feel free to update me when that happens. But like you said, we've got other things, right, that we want to make sure we address. Other things that we want to make sure we really hit on. You hit me up this morning, saying like you look. Let's give you a little break from the mommy verse, mommy sector,
Right.
and there was something that you wanted. Listen, guys. I really appreciate when you guys hit me up and say, yeah, we just value a man's perspective on some of these things, some of these issues. And that really, that brings a little tear to my eye. Like, I really thank you guys for that. And especially, seeing like, you said, I'm so respectful. Yeah, listen, say more stuff like that. So if my mom sees it, she's going to say, like, you're the best sibling, you're my best child, and here's your award for the year. That's always the goal. Sibling of the year is what I'm going for, right?
Christmas is
And
coming up.
right. Every time I say that, one of my siblings actually appears. So let me chill for a little bit. But yeah, so I just want to give you the floor for what you wanted to, what you wanted to bring to the table.
Right. And as far as you mentioned Charlie Kirk, that was just kind of segue
Yeah.
in to give context into the Kirk. Just want to make sure. Um, yeah, so I hit you up earlier, and again, I just wanted to know, first of all, what is your spirituality, if you don't mind me asking?
I was raised Christian. I
Okay.
believe in God. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So with that being said, long as you serve somebody, I just want to know who you serve. Doesn't really matter. But so with that being said, as a man, right, how do you still follow protocol, right? With the higher power. Be respectful, like you said. I hear you talk about your mom a lot, disrespecting what she sees, respecting what she is. How do you find balance in that? How do you find balance in entrepreneurship, being who you are, speaking about men, speaking about women, speaking about ignorant things, but still staying in the balance with your faith, still staying in your balance without allowing the negativity of the world to make you a part of those, worldly negative things, and just again still keep that humble, peaceful balance, because I'm working there.
Um, I will say this. I get to cheat. I really get to cheat because my siblings are like the world for me, right? And whenever I'm too off, right? Like there's three of us. My brother is very spiritual. He is the compass, right? He will gently put you back on course. My sister is she's the leader. She's everything. She's to me she's perfect, right? But whenever I'm so
You
far out
sound
of
like my
whack,
middle brother, like that. Like
when I when I
he knows who his sisters are.
yeah, when I fall, when I'm you don't know when you're off the path. That's a dangerous thing, right? There's small incremental things.
But do you?
You
But do you not? Because I feel like I knew. I feel like when I felt like in this week, and I said this early in my life, I felt like I've been caught up in too much of worldly stuff.
now let me
And
ask you
it's a
this,
feeling
right?
because I feel like I'm being blessed, but I also feel like I'm not showing him enough that I deserve the blessings I'm receiving.
Put it
If
like this.
that makes sense.
You're already off the path, right? But you don't notice the first step, or the next step,
Right.
or the next, right? And this is why we all need sort of grace, so we can sort of know that sometimes we have to maneuver. Sometimes you have to get a little dirty to get down to like the path is never going to be clean, well paved road.
Right.
All our roads are unpaved. We have to sometimes go through the mud. We always have to just keep that idea that North Star. That's what my siblings are for me. Whenever I'm interacting with them, and some people have their own close core group of friends who, when they say something to Yanni, it
Mm.
cuts past your ego. It cuts past your defense. And you say, I know these people have my best in mind, always.
Interest.
They're never going to say, listen, I'm gonna say this to get her off the path so I can snake her so I can do what I want because I want her shine. When they talk, you automatically listen. Your ego, now this is going back to men, my ego is squashed immediately. It's held in check. When my family says something to me and says, you're a little here,
Mhm.
that initial rush up, I'm like, they wouldn't say this because they're trying to maneuver
Right.
me and get me out of position. So let me listen what they have to say. Let me
And
check myself,
regroup.
and then let me get a chance to regroup. And sometimes that requires what we do not do at all in this space. We don't have our moments of silence. We're never sort of alone, especially when you're a creator. One of the things that I understood about when I was writing a book, you still have to read, right? You still have to read. You still have to be in that space.
Right.
I was thinking I need more time just to do this. No, you still have to do all the things, right?
Right.
All the things. So when
And
we're
that's
in
where
this,
balancing
you
can get
can't,
a little
right.
hectic.
You sometimes think I need to take a step back and just stop everything else. But so much stuff that you do requires that motion, requires you momentum for you to continue to go, to continue to move. We don't get days to just say, I'm not going to do anything, especially when you're a mother. You don't get to say, I'm good.
Right.
That kid will take. He'll be all right tomorrow. He'll be all right. She'll be all right. She'll can cook, fend for himself. Your kid is 6 months old, but you want a break.
Right.
You want to chill. Sometimes you don't get that. Sometimes you get that. You have to, unfortunately, you have to fix your ship while it's still at sea.
True.
In a perfect world, right? This is exactly why it helps when you have a partner. When you have someone that you actually trust that can say, I see what's happening with you right
Right.
now. You need some of this load removed, and I can hold it for you while you take that time to get yourself together. All the other businesses, all the things you can do, I can fill in to a degree.
Right. I
Right.
agree. I
What
agree.
what I've tried to do in my life is create the systems in
Mhm.
place where I get a chance to stumble. Right.
Right. And like I
And
said, give yourself grace enough to. Okay. So my next question with that being said, because I hear you say you're entrepreneur, we're both entrepreneurs, and just to the people out there who kind of don't understand sometimes the misconceptions of entrepreneurship. Because I think people think, and again, I feel like being a business person or being a business owner is completely different than an entrepreneur. I feel like a business person is someone who you own that specific business, whether it's brick and mortar, whether it's online, that's your specific thing. If you do hedging, if you're a florist, if you do weddings or makeup, or that's your designated business. But an entrepreneur will have multiple businesses, will have multiple, creative things that they're coming up with, and then having to run them. And then an entrepreneur is someone who's always kind of thinking of ways to generate and create. And so, with that being said, I think they have a misconception about entrepreneurship, and they think, oh, they make a lot of money and they have free schedules and they kind of do what they want, but they don't really understand the severity of what goes into create, like you said, writing a book, having other businesses, still having to read outside of writing a book, and then having to get it edited, and then have to go through publishing, and then there's processes that go through that, right? And then still trying to maintain that level of confidence while everything is navigating, while we're waiting on the book sales, while we're waiting on that. And then for me, it's being a mother. So it's trying to freely create while being conformed to motherhood, because
yeah.
you don't want to be too selfish. So it's like your dreams can go out the window when you're an entrepreneur, but then they have to kind of make sense for your family. Sometimes I'll say things and my man will be looking at me like, you forgot, like, you got a house going on here, right? So it's it's like people don't understand, and I'm never done creating, right? So it's like you have. So again, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about entrepreneurship, just far as just the day to day creating, staying locked in, staying motivated? Because we'd have days where we're blank. We have days when we're like, "Yeah, I'm tapped out." We have days when you're
Oh,
like, where
yeah.
business isn't booming and you're second guessing yourself.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is you're on the outside looking in, and you're looking in, and the times that you get to look is when things are flowing well, right? When you see the trappings of the work, you're looking like, that's what I want. You
Right,
want the finish line, right? You want the finish line, but you don't want to buy cleats, right? You don't want to train. You don't want to look into any of this. You don't want to exercise. You don't want to prepare yourself. We just want the finished product, and that's a largely a societal thing. That's beyond race. That's beyond gender. We look at these things and we see the trappings. We see what it looks like. We all want to be the movie star, but you don't want to go to college and go to Juilliard. You don't want to do any of that, right?
right,
You don't want to wait tables as you try to pick up, uh, you know, bit parts as you try to be an extra on Law and Order. You don't even do any of that.
No,
right?
you just want to
But
get
you
to the point.
right, you just want to be standing next to Ice T where he's like, I got a rope guy, right? You just want to be
Right,
there. Unfortunately, that's we tied entrepreneurship into passive income. We thought because we all are we're around the same age where passive income was a thing. You need
right,
7 streams of income to become a millionaire. And we bought that. We bought it. We said
right,
that sounds
right.
right,
And I
right?
remember
That
I was
sounds
like a
right.
circus. Like I had this going, that going, this going, that going. And the money's coming in, and people don't understand too, when money is coming passively from multiple streams, your your day is not going to look like my day, and my day not going to look like your day. And what you could is play around with might not be what the next person can play around with because it's coming in again passively in multiple ways. So but again, you don't understand how that all works. You know what I'm saying? Just like with a hair oil business, I have to buy the bottles, then I have to
Hmm.
buy the little sealers, then I have to buy the labels, then I have to buy the package. So people just know I put in an order last week and I ain't get nothing, but not understanding that I can't send any oil till my laminator sends me the labels, and I can't send the laminate. So there's a whole
Yeah, I'll say when I watched Iron Man, right, right, and he pulled up towards the end when he started Captain America. Again, I'm a big nerd. This is part of who I am. She looks frozen right now, but we'll continue. And what we ended up doing, what I ended up seeing on Iron Man was not the G, the R8. I think it was the silver R8 he pulled up in, and to me, it was just everything. It was just everything. And then Hurricane Sandy hit, and I think I had insurance money that was supposed to be used to fix up, right, to really just fix up my place. And I remember looking and saying, "Well, I could use this to buy this," and I was like, "This is a very stupid idea." Um, or I think I was maybe looking at a Nissan GTR at the time. But anyway, what you have to do when you're trying to create these passive streams of income, in order to make that happen, you have to create these assets. And what people often don't see is what it takes to create that asset. How much time, how much energy it takes to create something like that. What you need to do that. Say you're in real estate, you want to just say something. We'll keep it nice and cheap for round numbers. Say $100,000 is going to buy you a rental. And yeah, this is probably you know 3, 4, and 5 decades ago. But what has to happen? You need that 20% down. You need to find it in a good rental market, and then you need to save that money to get that. And then if it's depending what market it is, you have to be able to actually competitively price yourself to get that thing. Then you need to vet the right proper tenants, or if you're going to have a property manager, there's so many steps that go before that. There's so many things that have to happen before that to make any of that happen. So what we end up seeing is you just see that it took me you don't see that it took me 3 4 years to finally get this thing up and running and then possibly enjoy the fruits of that labor. I think that's a big thing that we end up missing and not understanding when it comes down to what's passive and what's not, what actually takes you a lot of work to actually accomplish and do. Just give me one second. I'm try to get her back on. I don't know if it was her connection or mine. Please don't blame me if it's mine. But like I was saying, in terms of what we were just talking about, we got used to that idea of what's passive. And we thought, and then we need several streams of income in order to have this fictionalized life that they were basically selling us. This is what you need to be happy. I think the first thing we need to do is examine what it is that you need to be happy, what makes sense to you. You want to be an extra on Law and Order. Yo, I get you. I get you. And you take time to get into the comments bit. Millionaire mindset if she's not a millionaire. I guess we can ask her about that if she comes back on. But you can have the mindset before you get there, right? You can say that. I think you have to keep your moral compass in check. I absolutely agree. I absolutely 110% agree with that. It's so easy to let that go in a in the hunt for money, in the hunt for whatever else that you want in life, and then you end up losing yourself. And then kind of what's the point in that? Um, I think it helps if you have like a mom that will talk to you for 3 hours if you go off your moral compass. That's always my favorite thing to relate to anyone else. To everyone that just joined the chat, welcome. Hit the like button when you weigh in. We're trying to push these videos, and more videos I do. We're trying to push it, to a wider audience. And the YouTube algorithm is the YouTube algorithm. I don't know what to do about that. Um, Please, like, hit the subscribe button if you like these type of conversations. I'm always looking to have more of these in whatever fashion we can. Welcome back. Sorry for the struggle streaming.
Yeah, sorry about
uh,
that.
yeah. So what I was
So
saying with
wait,
passive
really,
income.
really, really quickly. Let me just ask
Mhm.
you: if you hear someone say millionaire mindset, what does that
Mhm.
sound like to you?
That you have the mindset equivalent to people that are striving to be millionaires. It's not a thing that you suddenly arrive at when you have a dollar amount in your account. It's something that you say, this is the path. I'm always a fan of mentorship because that's what I also do. I mentor people in my alma mater at John Jay and people in real estate. And then one of the first things I always talk to them about, you have to fix this. You have to fix this. If your body will go where your mind is already gone.
Right,
That's it. If
right.
you don't understand that sometimes, and most millionaires get it, it's going to take it's going to take time, it's going to take sacrifice. That's the mindset. You can adopt those before you're anywhere near that path. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, but you have that mindset, you get on the right path, and that mindset is a constantly developed thing. It's not something that you just suddenly pick up when there's a dollar amount in your account or you hit this marking as your net worth.
Because
If we're talking about
because there are some millionaires who are not qualified. Would you agree? Like if I go play the Powerball and I win, I might be dumb as a box of rocks.
when
If
we
I
when
go
we
and
when you
sign
look at
a contract with with Yo Gotti, I might be a millionaire in 24 hours. That doesn't mean that I can even form a sentence, right? So
right,
being a millionaire has nothing to do with your educational status or your financial stability prior to. Again, it has everything to do with your mindset and attracting, like he said, those qualities to format that and to even be in the same room with that. And so I had a class because someone's in here trolling. But I had a class that was called Millionaire Mindset, and I still do it. But I realized YouTube isn't a safe space for, or the mommy sector, I should say, isn't a safe space for that type of conversation. The mommy sector is not a conversation to be having millionaire mindset conversations. Not a conversation to talk about stocks. It's not to talk about real estate investing. This is not the sector for that. These are people
yeah,
that are going crazy for a YouTube check. So can you imagine? So when I came up with the Millionaire Mindset Mentorship, which I did very well with, and I still do very, very well with, there were some people that were very thrown off. How is she having a millionaire mindset and she's not a millionaire? But if I talk to 8 millionaires and I do take notes from 8 millionaires, can I take those same notes that I learned from them 8 different millionaires and come and teach you that? Or can I take those 8 different things that they told and implement it into my everyday life to have those same results? It takes having the mindset. If you don't even
yeah.
think that you can become something, why would you ever sacrifice and do what you need to do to get there? These people don't even know what $80,000 looks like, let alone
Listen,
if you make 80,000, do that times 12, that's your million right there. So he don't even know how
when
to count. They're gonna tell me how to count.
yeah, when my net worth first passed a million, you know what changed? Not a
What?
goddamn thing. Not a goddamn thing. Nothing. Nothing. I can still have lean months where it's like shit. Like this is difficult. Like
Right.
especially when your responsibilities are vast, right? And that's the only reason like I sought to become wealthy because I wanted to be able to take care of those
It
close to
was a
me.
millionaire mindset class. That's
Right.
why the classes were offered, and the classes were one-on-one classes. They were one-on-ones.
Listen, honestly, a lot of this is I wouldn't
But
put
that's what I'm saying. The mommy sector is not a place to even
yeah.
have that conversation.
No,
Continue.
there's a very different sector. There's a financial sector in YouTube for those very things, and
Yeah.
there's people that are way more well versed than me in those spaces that can talk about those things. I wish I knew more about stocks. I'd have to sit at the feet of someone to for me to get up to speed on stuff like that. But I think it's very easy to, and this is an unfortunate thing I've noticed in the Black community when I first was getting into real estate and I was talking to other people about it, because you want to find out. what other people have going on, so
Right.
I can know the trappers. I can know what mistakes they made. I'm basically looking to piece together mentorship from people older than me that have done these
Right.
things. And I credit one of the men I used to work with, Mantle, and we would go back and forth, talk about different. Hey, my brother's doing this in Alabama. He's buying single family homes. I was like, okay, okay. What is he finding? Okay, he's got a team set up, so this starts running less with them. When
Right.
I'd have that same conversation with someone that I grew up with, they're like, "Yo, don't get into real estate, man. That's not going to work out." And I'm like, "Okay, why? Do you, have you done it? What went wrong? Oh
Right.
no, I never done it.
Right.
Wait, but so that taught me that
You
some
haven't done it,
conversations,
but you're telling me it's not
but
going to work
you're
for
telling
me.
me it's not going to work. Some conversations are not for some places,
Right.
right?
And
Some
the
things.
mommy sector is just not that place.
One of the things that, and if you, I think what Joker said this: if you're good at something, never do it for free. To me, it's is if I give you something for free, you think it's worthless.
Right.
But the
Which
minute
is
I
why I
put it
don't do
behind a
anything for free.
the minute I put it behind a paywall and charge you for it, right? And charge you for it, all of a sudden you value that because that's the framework in which you've always been had information disseminated toward you. Someone
Right.
has to charge you. This is why people can be like, "Yo, you need $8,000 to for a one on one with me." You you think that this $8,000 is tied to the value of this. But if I can give you that same information for free and all I'm asking for say a super chat or a cup of coffee, you look and say, nah,
You're not
nah.
going to take it seriously.
Or you think it's always going to be around.
Right.
But the truth
Because
is sometimes,
no, go ahead.
yeah, sometimes you need to meet people where they are sometimes and say, cool, you want this information? Here's a buy-in. You tell me
Right.
what it's worth to you. Otherwise, this is me giving it to you. And I'm always leery of people that say, I'm going to show you this, that, right? I'm going to show you the deep, dark secrets without, and make it think it's as simple as put in X and you're going to get Y versus, no, we're going to build something together. We make the mistake as, I think, creators or entrepreneurs. And I'm going to definitely speak for myself here. I believe that everyone can do and is doing exactly what I'm doing. I'm thinking that their level of output is exactly mine. And in order for
Right.
me to get to do better than them, I've got to do more. So
Right.
what ends up happening? I run myself ragged trying to outwork this imaginary person. And the truth is most people are just fine where they are.
They are. And I've learned that, and there's no slight and there's no shade for that, right? But in the courses, for example, I had a promo sale where the classes were $30 for the promo sale. Then it went back to the original price of 100 because I did so well and I was getting a lot of good feedback. The people that paid the $100 took more heed than the people that paid the 31, right? And so my stepfather, he gets into real estate. He plays field hockey, so he gets into different contracts and different teams playing in different places. So that's what he kind of gets into. He goes back and forth from Nigeria to here, and so he has a lot of different of his former play teammates, right, who are here in Atlanta. So people from Russia, people from India, you know what I'm saying? Different people from different places. So I'm good at social media marketing, and I'm really good at teaching you how to expand your business. I'm really good with numbers, and I'm really good with sitting you down and saying, okay, here, Yanni, I have a garage full of workout gear. I have a garage full of sweatshirts, right? I'm going to tell you how to market these sweatshirts, how to price these sweatshirts, and how to generate an income with that inventory or with those products that you have sitting in your garage, where you might just say they're sweatshirts. But by the time I finish putting a price tag on them, breaking down the numbers and telling you how much you need to sell or what you need to sell to bring in whatever total brand you're trying to bring in, it makes things easier. It's just like if you walk into your garage and it's cluttered. But if you hire somebody to come in and clean it out for you, it doesn't look as chaotic as you thought that it did before it was cluttered. It's the same amount of space, it's the same amount of stuff. It's just someone who knew how to clear it out properly to make it look like there's more space than there really is. So that's really what I do.
A lot of
And instead of
yeah.
people, like I said, understanding the concept, that's how I know that their mind doesn't go there. You get what I'm saying? Because if your mind goes there, then you could easily say, oh, okay, it's an entrepreneurship class, and it's for people who are entrepreneurs. And it's for people who are serious. If you're not serious about your food truck or your business or whatever the case may be, that has nothing to contingent upon my course, right? Because I
Yeah.
pay for courses, I've taken courses. But if I'm paying for these courses, I'm going to write them down. I'm going to take heed. I'm going to do what I need to do. So it's not like you said, it's not even a everybody. It's just not an everybody thing. Everybody's not meant to be a millionaire. Let's start there. Everybody doesn't want to be a millionaire. Everybody doesn't want to have financial freedom. And some people, like you said, are content. They make $80,000 a year. Their house might be paid off. They got a car that's paid off. Their kids is fine. The husband may be bringing 82. They bring it, so they're fine, right? And then there's somebody out there that's like, nah, why would I stop at making 80K a year when there's somebody making 80,000 a month? That's me, right? And then my significant others the same way. Like, why would we stop? Why would you stop? Why would you worry about millionaire mindset when you could run up the bag and make two? Like, that's nothing. There are people who are, so we start talking about Warren Buffett and we start talking about, so when you're in a situation where you're dealing with people who are like-minded like you, your ability and your desire and your motivation to go up is different than if you were laying around with somebody who's working a 9 to 5 every day. And there's no slight to that, right? But again, I'm coming from an entrepreneur mind, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it's just, again, I think it's a mindset thing. And just like you said with the Black community, even with therapy, when I forget money, you mentioned therapy. Oh, you're going to therapy? What are you going to therapy? You mentioned breastfeeding. I can't do that. That's nasty. You breastfeeding? Like, it's just the mind is just so, just you talk about nutrients and providing that for your child and that one-on-one, and that's nasty. I can't do that. But you'll go get Similac or you'll go get whatever and shove it down the mouth. Now, if that's what you have to do, cool. But I'm just saying, we're never open to expanding our minds.
Yeah.
We're never open to it. It's like you talk about, I remember watching Wall Street Trapper, and I remember he was saying, you know, ask everybody, tell everybody who you around, you're gonna be a millionaire. Like after this, you watch this, go tell everybody you mess with, you want to be a millionaire, and watch how they respond to you. And I remember I did that before I moved to Atlanta. I remember I did that. I remember I mentioned it to my ex. I remember I mentioned it, and I remember I just went around, and there was some people was like, "Yeah, I see that. Like I always seen it," and there was some people that was like, "How you gonna do that?" And that was the people I knew I had to disassociate myself with. What do you mean how? You know what I'm saying? The fact that you're not even like, okay, let's figure this out. You're more so thrown off by how that lets me know what I need to know. And that's what I tell people in my one-on-ones. If you go tell somebody, if you go tell your mother or you go tell your brother, yo, I got this really good, great game plan. I'm really striving. I'm really about to get locked in. I'm really about to sacrifice a lot of stuff. You might not see me, but I'm coming. We can ready be up. I'm gonna ready take care of the family. I'm gonna be the first generation millionaire. And they look at you like you got four heads, run. Because we're not even on the same, you don't even believe that that's possible. So then again, you really can't count for real. And then me and you not even going to work because numbers, I ran off Olivia. I get money off Olivia in sleep. Okay. That's why they don't like me too. Okay. All right,
Listen,
cool.
listen.
But
Again, what you said before about entrepreneurship is not for everyone, right?
it's
And
not.
I think we did ourselves, we did our culture, we did our society a disservice when we made that mistake of making it happen to everyone, right? We made it public and said, this is what you should be doing. This is the move. This is the way. Build a business. And there were even people out there say, give me $300, I'll build your LLC. Building your LLC is free, right? But you have this mindset because you just bought in. And that's a
Right.
very different thing to saying intrinsically, you have that entrepreneur sort of spirit. Like myself, I'm a good two man. You have an idea, I'll run with it. I can tell you, okay, this is where you might fall, this is how you increase this, this. But having those brilliant ideas of say like creating something like Amazon or SpaceX, mm, I know where I fall. It was
Right.
conversations I had with my father where he said, if you're going into business, you go into business on things that the United States and people in the United States will always need. You're always going to need a roof over your head. You're always going to need, your vices. You're always going to need convenience. So in my head, I'm like, okay, where am I closest to any real estate? So that's,
Right.
but that was always sort of a thing. But then I decided, all right, I could
And real
leave
estate is
everything
really
else.
interesting. I've been
What
kind
is
of
that?
teetering. Real estate
Yeah.
is it's more. It's I was terrified. Like even with that with the Black community, yo,
Hmm.
buying a home is like so far until you sit down and you start doing numbers and interest, and you're like, I know what I paid on my down payment for a car. So a couple more thousand, that's your down payment on your
That
house. You
that
get what I'm saying? But you
and
don't know that because you never
you
went.
don't know that. and then you don't understand, or you get the idea that this is the biggest wealth creator that we that is available to people en masse. Before that, historically, the United States really just cares about landowners. That tax code is built for landowners. You get the tax rates because you own land, right?
Right.
That's what the United States sort of just kind of, it's still impacted in there. You want the most, be married, be a landowner. That's what the United States is itself. The tax code is telling this. These are the things, these are people that we look and appreciate in life. We're going to give them what we can because this is the bedrock of society. We've ignored that. We were never taught that. So what ends up happening, we find ourselves in this sort of space where we don't, we want to buy a house just because, again, that was sort of the dream that we were sold. You don't understand the value of it. And sometimes we don't understand the value of keeping it within the family. We, our grandma passes away, we have a place in Bed-Stuy, and then here comes someone, some developer saying, I'll give you 1,500,000 for it. And you're like, crap, there's three, four, five of us. Let's do it. Let's split it. Boom. That family lineage, that house is gone. That developer does nothing to it. He just
Right.
sits on it. He rents it out. He sits on it, and his place is worth is bananas. And where did that 200, $300,000 do for you?
It's gone,
Nothing. It's
and
gone.
everyone's still renting.
Everyone's still renting. We don't in our community. We sometimes, even those that make it, we don't realize sometimes we get so used to saving money, right? That we're very afraid of letting it go back out. The
Right.
first time I bought a place in New York, I remember sitting down across from, at the signing table, closing table, and I've got this check, and I'm literally like, right,
Shaking.
this is shaking. This is the most money I've ever spent. Right, this is like $60,000. I'm shaking, and
Right.
the guy's like, oh, you ready to pay? I'm shaking. I had one of
Right.
my coworkers say, you could just put down 3%. You could have just did. You could have instead of signing over that much money. My bank account went down to $112. $112. But I was betting myself and say, when when stuff is bad,
Mhm.
you still want to lower debt. You still want to lower monthly mortgage. I was
Right.
betting on myself in the future and trying to give my future self a little bit of a break.
Right.
That's a mindset.
Right.
That's a mindset.
But
You
that
can't.
took paying attention to the current economy to even have an understanding of where it could be going in the future, right? So this is what I'm saying. But like you said, that's a mindset thing. Like there are people who were raised in an apartment. Their grandmother still got the same apartment, and they don't know any better. And so I think that was another reason why I brought that to the sector because I didn't really pay attention to their moms. They wouldn't. And my mind is like, yo, I know being a millionaire wasn't something that was discussed in my family. Everybody's educators, everybody's teachers. My grandmother's a teacher. Everybody owns homes. Everybody they did all of that, but everybody worked honest jobs, right? My uncle was the only one that kind of went out of the box and he did the midday mix. He did work for WBLS and he was a DJ. May he rest in peace. But everybody else kind of did. My grandmother sent everybody to college, Xavier, Hampton University, and both went to bed. So in our mind, you go to college, you get a good job, you pay your bills, you pay your credit, you pay your mortgage, you do what you need to do, and you don't mess with the people's money. But it was never taught to go above. It was never, okay, the doctor, lawyer, the regular things, or maybe working at Bell Labs, or maybe working here. But it was never really to like supersede. And so with doing social media and being on social media, you see the influencers, you see the content creators, you see the people who were incarcerated but now have this going on. People who did, had bad credit but fixed it. People who were
Mhm.
homeless but own mansions. People who were homeless but are now millionaires. People who, like Eric Thomas, who had no education, no background, grew up homeless, eating out of garbage cans. And this man is a multimillionaire who gets paid to public speak and couldn't even read. You get what I'm saying? So you can't tell me what I'm finna be. I watched Coach Story. You know what I'm saying? I watched Boss Lady Beat when she was riding around with her van, sitting with a crate as her seat because she didn't have any seat to now have a paid off mansion on the front ocean fronts of Miami. You get what I'm saying? But if you don't watch those type of people, if you're not interested in those type of people, then you just assume everybody was just born into it. None of these people were born rich.
Yeah.
Oprah,
No.
Tyler Perry, Taraji P. Henson, all of the Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos. None of these people were Elon Musk. They had to Donald Trump. They had to work for it, and Trump has been broke more than a lot of times. Okay, cool. But
Listen,
when you
that's
get with
yeah.
money and you stay around money, it's always easier to bounce back.
You have to one of the things you have to do, you have to curate, and this is what I say for men. You have to curate your circle. And for men, sometimes it's every 6 months. And we're not talking
Mhm.
about, you haven't done anything for my life and I'm just gonna leave you. No, no, like new year, new me. No, no, no. You just think
Right,
about a concentric circles. Sometimes you are not serving someone else in your life, and they're not serving you. So you just push them a little farther away. It doesn't mean you don't answer them, doesn't mean you ignore them, but the ones close to you, those are the ones going to help drive and tell you where you're going. Those are
right,
ones that when people see them and they can have a conversation with them, they can have a good idea of what's happening with you. I have a very few close personal friends, but we're always talking about, once sports and
bettering
stuff is
yourself.
done, we're always talking about bettering yourself. We're always checking in saying, one of my friends, Dre, every Friday, like for the last 2 Fridays, he's coming and talk about positive messages, say, yo, don't let off the gas. And the timing of some of these messages sometimes is just incredible. And I'm saying, yeah, I'm getting after it every single day. I'm taking the time, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. I've got other friends that telling me, yeah, you also need to take time for you to relax. You
Right,
can't be full throttle all the time.
right.
But those are ones that are going to see you where you want to go. If you have those friends that you always grew up with, that are always close to you, that were just you don't want to let go because there's a sentimental value there, but they're not doing
Right,
anything with their lives. They're
right.
even then you need to your job is to love them from a distance. If you're not fitting where
Absolutely,
I'm
it's to love
going,
them from a distance and not judge them. And I
yeah,
think that people get personal. Like I've done one-on-ones and people are like, "Oh, my family doesn't support me. Oh, I had this food truck and I'm up every Saturday in the same parking lot and everybody knows where to find my food truck and they never come." And I have to let people know that you want genuine support. And the people that are going to support you the most are not always going to be the ones closest to you. Like my family has it. I have one or two family members that's supported what I have going on. For most part, they'll just give me the money. Or for the most part, they're just like, here, I know you got this going on. Like, but they're not going on the website ordering hair oil or doing this, Y, and Z. And you have to understand as a business person or as an entrepreneur, when you're dealing with consumers, sometimes you want that platonic relationship. Sometimes you don't really want that whole locked in connection because then people have a sense of entitlement and they assume that you're going to do this or they want you to do this just off entitlement, or they try to lowball you, or they'll try to, oh, I'm your cousin, like, you might do hair, you might charge 150 for the style because they won't give you 120. You get what I'm saying? So you run into those situations too, where, like Easy is saying, once you know your worth and once you know what you bring to the table, absolutely you're going to put a price tag to it. I don't do anything for free, and there's some people who do. I don't. I'm not doing a party for free because YouTube not paying me for the algorithm. I'm not doing no pop up for free because that's not hearing the word. And I know my worth. If that's offensive to you, then that's okay. But you're not going to make me feel like I'm doing anything wrong when I've been to it for 6 years and I know what I'm doing. Just like with FSU, I don't have to sit on YouTube and do a reaction. I don't have to do that. I'm going to go where I've put enough work in to where I can be. Just like people got Patreons, people have others. Lovely T is now still sitting on YouTube. Wall Street Trap. All of the people got Patreons and this and that because you have to grow and expand. And you
yep,
have to learn at some point, even with social media, how to control access to you. Because that's another thing we have to be very, very careful of the amount of access you allow people to have. Because you give them a little bit and they take them out. You come up Monday,
yeah.
they think they know you Tuesday. You show them Thursday, they think they know you Friday. So I think, like I said, just with having a healthy mindset, you first have to understand what do you want for your life. Like I tell people all the time, what do you want your house to look like? And it's okay if you and your husband bought your very first house and it's a 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath. Perfect. But is that how that's what you really want? Or is that what you
Yeah.
got 15 years ago when y'all was newlyweds? But you don't want to do the work, so you just gonna stay there like that's your forever home, but y'all got 5 kids. You see what I'm saying? So it's like people, and again, I'm not knocking that, right? But what I'm saying is we have to get to a place where we're okay with saying, I want more. We're okay with saying we can go get more. And we're okay with striving for more. And if that's not what you want, then that's fine. But don't try to downplay the other people that can. Because like I said, I didn't see it. I'm going to go see Eric Thomas next on the 20th. I'm very sure we're going to go see it September 20th. Yeah. And like I said, this is me who's eating at a garbage cans, who is
Oh
happily
yeah, no.
married, who dotes on his wife, who does the thing. And so it's not comparison, it's a testimony to anybody who's been in that situation, to anybody who can't read. To
No,
anybody who's been homeless, to
I
anybody who's been
love
fatherless,
I
anybody
love
who's been down
ET.
and out, you
Yeah.
can overcome.
No, I love ET. I've I've got some of his speeches just on a loop when I'm in the gym because speaking with
There are
that type of
times, yeah,
passion, yeah, that speaking with that type of passion, just it's inspiring, it's incredible, and it always makes you think like he told me I'm getting up at 3 in the morning. I was 4:30. I can't get up any earlier, right? But
right,
stuff like that, it teaches you that statistically, most millionaires in the United States, they
right,
they're first generation. Some people, yeah,
right,
someone in the chat say, yeah, some people inherited this, right? More people are made millionaires in their own generation. The idea should always be
that's
to
me, oh my God.
um you have to show me how to do that one day. I gotta take a YouTube class. So most people do it in their own generation. Where we often lose the plot is I had this video talking about generational wealth. My position of generational wealth is this. If I want the G7, I want the private
Right,
this, I want the private jet, I want the private helicopter. But if I do
right,
everything right, right, in the track that I'm on, if I do everything right in terms of generational wealth, I
mhm,
may enable my great, 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 great grandkids to do it. It may not
right,
be my bag. My life will be better than my parents, and that should be the thing we strive for. But I need to leave my family better than I inherited it.
right,
Sometimes you're doing things for people who you will never lay eyes on, people you will never have
right,
conversation on. It's just they will be your kin, they will be your people. That is sort of the we want to erase the divide between our races
right.
in not even a generation in 5 years, 10 years, but we're so far behind in so many key ways. The first being mindset. The first is the mindset. And that sometimes that's what you may not have anything to monetarily pass on to your kids, but you have a mindset that you helped for them to adapt. They can run with this. They can improve with that. Sometimes that's all we can do, and that has to be enough.
Right. And like you said, just hopefully they will be influenced by it, or hopefully they'll be motivated by it. And like I said, you have to get to a place. But that's why I said I can see why certain individuals will allow what other people are saying to control their mind. Because again, it's your mindset. You have to be stronger than the enemy, because the enemy wants you to fold. They want you to conform to what they're saying. They want you to believe you can never be a homeowner, you could never get into real estate, or you can never pass the bar. You can never that's what the enemy wants. Because again, once you unlock that code and once you begin to evolve and grow, you're going to bring more people with you. You're going to tell more people, hey, this is real estate, join real estate. You're going to encourage more people to buy homes. You're going to be
Hmm.
so that's just how that narrative is going to spin anyway. Like I said, I noticed that you got to just really pick and choose the company that you keep when having those conversations, even spiritual based conversations, right? I know there's a lot of people that you can still do that. You can still do that. And when they say certain things, it's like, yeah, you're not on my page, because if I'm telling you I'm having conflicted emotions with this, you tell me, but you can still do that. And it's not that you want bad for me. You're not even on the same page as me to see the vision that I'm trying to
Yeah.
see. So what I'm saying to you, even though you're trying to support me, you're just trying to make me feel like, girl, you good, like you're okay, like God is gonna forgive you. You're I need the friends that's gonna call it what it is. You know what I'm saying? I need the people that's gonna stand firm and call it what it is. And so with love, right? And so I think, like I said, just being on social media in general, you get to see everyone's mindset. Everybody's mindset is in a different space. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's
Hmm.
mindset is in different things. And what I found interesting is a lot of people have time for nothing. Like a lot of people they'll say that they're so busy, and they'll say that they have all this going on, and everyone on, especially in the mommy sector, everybody has a job and they're homeowners and they're this and that, but everybody's all over the place. And so what I'm learning is, like I said, but then when we start having conversations about real estate, we start talking about property taxes, we talk about HOAs, we start talking about all of those different things, people can't keep up with that. The enemy will come and they'll divert the attention back to what is familiar with them, what is
Hmm.
relatable to
Hmm.
them, what is normal to them. And so, like I said, if you're smart enough, you'll put two and two together. If you're not, then you're not. So I have
You're
one
not.
more question for you as an entrepreneur. Okay. What is your advice on someone dating an entrepreneur? How would you tell them to handle that? If you're dating someone who's an entrepreneur, have very hectic schedule, really locked in, not really, you know what I'm saying, not really want to kind of fold on their locket, what would be your like I said, your advice on intertwining with a busy entrepreneur? Because there's a lot of ladies who want to date entrepreneurs, right? They want to
Hmm.
date men who are successful. They want to date men who have free schedules, to their dealings. They want men who are, established. And a lot of times, again, in these days, women are meeting entrepreneurs. They're meeting, people who are contractors. They're meeting people who are developers. They're meeting people who, like you said, do real estate. People who are property taxes. People who are in all different things. And I have a couple friends that are trying. Like one of my friends, she's dating right now, and she's like, I really like this guy. He's older. He's this and he's that. He has his own business, and he works in landscaping. And I'm telling her like those are really, really good things. But I know that this person has some work to do. And so
Yeah.
and not even just with this person, but just in comment sections, when you watch different content, you'll see these women having these desires. So again, what is your advice or suggestion for someone who wants to date an entrepreneur and maybe not be an entrepreneur, so doesn't understand the lifestyle and the availability?
So we're not going to take the B Simone sort of approach, right? Where if you don't do this, I can't get
Hold, wait, hold on 1 second, Easy.
you.
One second. Yeah, Easy and I are having a conversation. Yanni has blocked several people throughout this live stream. So if y'all could just be respectful and focus on the conversation, especially my people. I don't want y'all going back and forth with anybody that I'm not seeing because I've already blocked. So let's be respectful. Y'all know we're gonna deal with trolling. Ignore it and let's focus on a conversation. Y'all ain't even got a windmill for me. I've already blocked whoever y'all arguing with. So I don't even see who y'all arguing with. Okay?
Yeah.
Love y'all, but let's stay focused. My bad. Go ahead. My people, we cut up. We cut up.
I see you guys cutting up. I'm trying not to focus on that, but before we jump back into the answer, guys, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button just to push this out.
Yeah,
It
show
really
love. Hit the
helps.
subscribe button.
Right. We try to have like these high level conversations, and again, I'm willing to talk with who wants to have positive conversations. Right. So shout out to you guys. Um, but yeah, when you're trying to, and if we're just going to be real, right? When people create something, right, an entrepreneur, I'm talking from a man's point of view. When you create something like that, it's your baby. It's your labor of love. When you come into a man's life like that, that is there. What what we often see is you want to also be that. You want to be that level of important to him because you see the way he dotes and the way he worries and the way he is ecstatic when he gets some good news, when he's building this thing. Because it was a thought at one point. It was simply a thought. When I wrote my book, it was a thought. I woke up from a dream, not an MLK dream. I just woke up, I had a dream. I was like, and I sat there and I wrote, and said,
Right.
now there's a physical manifestation of this thing. When you come into someone's life like that, now we get genderless, right? If a man to come to a woman's life like that, or a woman's coming to a man's life like that, you have to understand for a very long time, you're not going to be number one. You may never be number one. And that's fine. Number one is a very high bar. You don't want to be number one in just, I'm going to make this a general thing. You don't want to be number one in a man's life. You don't want everything he does, he thinks, he eats, he sleeps. You don't want that all to run through you.
Right.
You want to be the recipient of the decisions he's made, the ones that are beneficial and helpful for you, but you don't want him to say, babe, what tie should I wear today? Every single day. You don't want
Right.
that, right?
Right.
You don't want that level. So sometimes the best thing you can do is the traditional sort of thing you can do. How can I help? How can I
Right.
improve?
Right.
Otherwise, he's going to be looking at things very much as in, is it an asset? Is it a liability? If
Right.
if we say we're looking at days of the week, I like to use this example. You want to chill. Friday night is when we're gonna is date night. We're gonna do our thing. Cool. He says, all right, I can allocate Friday night for us. But Friday night turns into Saturday morning. You're like, well, I'm still here. We might as well still do something Saturday. Let's go out for brunch and then I'll get out of you here. You get so accustomed to that, and then you start saying, well, I also want to see you Monday. So you got Friday, Saturday, Monday. You say, well, I'm already here. Let me just stay for the entire amount of time. He's looking at that and say, you don't get it because you're just enjoying the time. He's looking and saying, there's so many things I don't get to do. There's so many
While
things
you're
I
sitting.
don't get to accomplish because you're here and I simply can't accomplish. I can't do these things.
Right.
Sometimes I'm like this. I just want you here around me, but I have work to do.
Right.
I have work to do.
So
I
so
like
you
that
can
you're
be here,
here.
but we're not doing brunch.
We're
And
not
I'm gonna need you to
right.
go get on your laptop and edit a video or do some
Get
cue
get
cards. Right.
right. If
Right.
you want to be important to that person, you always, and we're talking for men, you got to find a way where you fit in there, where I alleviate things in your life. And it's not like he can't do them. It's just you've taken care of this. I can double down on the thing I want to do. I can
Right.
double down on that now. Hey, you know what? I don't have to sit down. I got the chicken. I don't know, season it. I don't do. I've already got that. That's in my plan. I already know exactly what I'm doing for lunch, for dinner. I've got all that mapped out. But I know it's going to take me 30 minutes to an hour to do all this prepping and then clean it and do all that. That's time I can't focus on this business. Or sometimes this time I just can't decompress. You come in there
Right.
and instead of being a draw on the resources, you're like, hey, I brought lunch. I'm
Right.
looking at you like, oh, you just saved time.
Great. Because I didn't even have time to cook. So that just worked out. Like you
Right,
just
right.
saved
I
the
didn't
day.
have time to do that. You save, and then
Right.
you just say, "Hey, if you need anything, I'll be right over there." And in those in between times, I'm taking a little break. You just like, "Hey, I'm just here to cuddle with you, make you feel better." That hits us in such a way we lose our minds. We're like, "This, I could get used to this." But when you
Right.
try to do the same sort of game that a young 20-year-old is, look at me, I'm very pretty. Let's go out. I want to be out and seen. He can
Right.
entertain that for such amount of time and then say, "This isn't worth what I'm trying to do."
Because at
If
that
you're
point you're becoming a distraction.
you're a distraction. You're a distraction.
And
And
so
while distractions are nice, distractions aren't the thing that built, the business. Distractions
and
didn't build
distractions
the
aren't
Great
and
Wall.
on distractions become a little bit you become a little bit resentful after a while when you feel like this distraction is a purposeful distraction because if
Hmm.
you've explained to that person that I can designate Friday night or allocate Friday night to you and you're trying to creep into Saturday, I'm depending on my mood, I might go ahead and you know agree to that, but I still kind of feel like we shouldn't even be doing this because I told you last night that Friday because I have something to do here. So you trying to kind of wean your way in and kind of after a while it can become a little bit disruptive because
Right.
you're distracting me. And I feel like if you have my best interest at heart, you will respect. For example, when I say that I'm doing a Zoom, that's what I mean. So if you're gonna keep calling, or if you're trying to get my attention, or you're trying to text me, or you're in the doorway waving, that's the indication that you don't respect my schedule, you don't respect my time, you don't respect what I have going on. And so I think to even piggyback off of because I know that Easy has male and female audience, but to any men out there that might be watching and is dating a woman who was an entrepreneur, I feel like the same things apply. You have to be very respectful of that person's schedule. And I'll be very honest. I feel like entrepreneur relationships work better than 9 to 5 entrepreneur because we're not on the same page. Like when I dated in my last relationship, that person wasn't an entrepreneur, so they didn't understand when I say I'm live. I'm live. Like I don't care if it's a text. I don't care. It's disrespectful because you know what I'm doing. Or if I say that I have a
Hmm.
meet and greet, if I say that I got to go travel, if I say and you're making that hard for me, that's a problem for me. That means you don't respect what I have going on. So I feel like again, two people who are entrepreneurs, two people who are working towards the same goal, who are figuring out life, figuring out their community, their creativity, figuring out just different things in general. I feel like those people kind of work well together because you're understanding that the creativity never ends.
Right.
You understand that your spouse is sick. His he might wake up tomorrow and say he wants to go build whatever. You know that that's this person. You know he's gonna be in that garage all night trying to put whatever he said he was gonna. Or you might be the wife that's laying in the bed that has this ideal in the middle of the bed. You're like, babe, how about in the morning? And your husband knows that she's always creating, she's always thinking. So when you have two people who are always creating, even if it's individually, the ability to create together is even better. And then the opportunity to respect one another's designated endeavors, I think, is a better thing. I think if you have someone who's on the road or they're traveling or they're doing public speaking or they're doing podcasting, for example, interacting with the opposite sex, there are plenty of men who wouldn't even understand this conversation. What you mean you just talk to Easy? What you mean? They would flip. They would take that as disrespectful. They would take that as anything inappropriate. But when you're dealing with a real man who knows their woman and knows I'm a chatty Cathy, I'm a talker, and I have a mind and I have a mindset, then they understand that okay, this is how she gets down. But it's an understanding thing because he understands public speaking, motivational, podcast, social media. He understands that. He understands that you can be on a panel with three men and three women. You guys could be talking about, growing up in single parent households, and you can be. So he understands that just because they're opposite sex doesn't mean that it's always romantic. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I think due to the nature of his job and him traveling and him working, some of his business partners being women, and some of the directors being women, and some of the HR, some of the dopest chicks that he worked with in HR are women. So when you're dealing with again two people who come from those type of worlds, I think it just makes it better. But I will say respect that person's space, respect that person's time. Don't try to manipulate the time. Like Easy said, don't try to be bigger than the program. Don't
Hmm.
think that you're going to
Hmm.
be more important than, because I'm going to be very honest, me becoming a millionaire and me becoming first generation, it's bigger than the money. I have other things that I have to do with that platform, right? So
Especially, listen,
although you can
especially
provide
when
for me, you telling me to just sit home and get pregnant to me is not honoring my dreams because
no,
I can't be a
no,
first generation millionaire off of your
but
income.
but but it's especially when you're benefiting from the program, right? When you found me, I was doing these things, and this is what attracted you. This is why you found me attractive. The drive, the ambition, right? The discipline.
Right.
When you now come into that, and the first thing that you're trying to do essentially is kill that. Like, how many times have you been in relationships with people and people just gain weight because you get very comfortable, you get very used to a certain sort of lifestyle, and you used to go to the gym, you used to be dedicated, you used to do these things, but now you traded that in for the comfort of being around that person, and over time you both stop recognizing each other. But I will say, in terms of you being an entrepreneur, another person being 9 to 5, what often goes wrong, and I'll raise my hand. I've ruined relationships like this, where I can recognize my fault when I was growing into this type of person, and it's not a steady growth. It's more exponential. It's like if there's an X2 curve, right? There's this rapid amount of growth that happens. There's this lull, and then you hit it, and then you're changed. You have to have the conversation with whomever you're with. You have to say, these are my expectations for you, for us. This is the direction I see us growing in. What are yours? How does this fit? You have to be part of the plan. And this is how we secure us doing this together. Because what often happens when you have so many other ideas and people in your relationship, because we have social media, you have friends, I have friends, everyone has a little comment because they think they're trying to help you. They start interjecting their own ideas, their own beliefs into what's happening with you. They're seeing stuff and say, I would never put up with that. But for you, it's fine. But for them, it's not. Then you start listening to them. And I'm like, well, would you trade places with them? Do you want their life? If not, we need to stick to the script that we developed. We sat down and we co-wrote this. I'm not leading from in front of you. I'm leading from we're right here together. This is the plan. This is how we're going to do things. I think you're muted. This is how we're going to do things to make this better. We're going to do this together. But what often happens, you have so many other things influencing you, and they're all telling you he should behave in this way.
Right.
You were never attracted to that man you're trying to now create. You're trying to mold him into something you were never attracted to. Because you can get all those guys that are ready to give up their dreams just to be with you.
Right. Right. So
You
then
can get
don't
that.
say that you want the hardworking, successful entrepreneur, but then be mad when that person is focused on or locked into their endeavors for 3 months. Because there's some people that will go goes for 3 months, go goes for 2 months, go goes until a project is like I remember I was watching an interview and Elon Musk was saying like that's how he knew relationships like it was never going to work for him because he was so focused on building Tesla and he was so focused on creating that how do I have time for that? You just don't. It's just like a lot of people. I remember even Simone Biles was talking about it. Like there was a season where she was really locked in, getting ready for the Olympics. You know, her husband was off season. They were really trying to figure that out because I can't be selfish to myself, but I don't want to be selfish to my partner. So then there comes this conflict, right? And that's why marriages are so hard, because you don't start evolving after marriage. You don't start growing and being creative
Mhm.
after a marriage. You have a lot of people who conform. They get into the marriage and they just stick to their routine, and nobody continues to grow. Or you have one person that wants to grow and the other person that doesn't. Or you might meet your wife at 320 pounds. 4 years into the marriage, she decides she wants to have gastric bypass. Now she's 178. That's not who you met. That's not who you married, right?
Mhm.
So I think that people have to understand that when you're locking into these serious relationships, and when you're getting into these serious relationships, it's got to be bigger than money, right? It's got to be bigger than the transaction. It's got to be bigger than the sexual chemistry. It's got to be bigger than that, because throughout that relationship, there's going to be changes. It might be weight. I was watching a couple where this husband, he was diagnosed with some type of skin disorder. And the poor man, he can't figure out what's wrong with his skin. I mean, it just overnight, over the course of 2 months, his whole body is just, his poor little skin is just peeling. And they do content. So the wife is still very supportive. They have a child together. They do it. I'm sure he doesn't want to be on camera all the time. I'm sure that's a lot for him, right? And I'm sure there are moments where his wife is resentful of his condition, whether she admits it or not, right?
Right.
So you have to make sure that it's bigger than that. I had a neighbor who had skin cancer and he passed from that. And I mean, it got to the point where he couldn't even sleep in the same marital bed because his poor skin was just flaking. So that's what I'm saying. People are so caught up in, but he was a great provider, right? But his wife, not to say she earned it, but she did her job before he
Yeah.
even got sick. She did her job. So even through his sickness after, she's taken care of. Even now, she's fine. She still got her house, her car, because she was a wife before. And so a lot of people want the benefits of being a wife, but you don't want the benefits that come with being a supportive wife, right? You want a good husband, but you don't want the benefits that go with you being a good wife to attract a good husband.
And what we talked about before. Hold on, let me jump and grab this question real quick. TV. Do you think being a successful partner requires more compromise, more boundaries? I think it depends
I think
where you're
compromise.
coming from. Like where you come from. Who are you in this sort of relationship? If you're the successful partner, you probably have the boundaries. You probably understand. If you're coming to join into what I have already have, and I've already got this business going up and going, there's very little incentive for you to meet a successful man, basically any successful partner, and then they start to say, let's compromise. I don't know you. I don't know what value you bring to this. A different scenario, we built this thing together. Yeah, all we did is compromise. All we did, because now this is the program. We're not compromising with the idea that someone has is not going to, we're going to ruin the thing that's supporting us. So I think it
But
depends
wait,
where
I
you're
think
coming
that
from.
depends on the dynamic of the relationship, because she said, do you think being a successful partner requires more compromise or more boundaries? I
Right.
think
No,
that
I'm saying
depends on the
it
relationship,
depends on,
because sometimes successful people require boundaries
yeah,
before
that's what I'm saying.
compromise. They won't
When
compromise, they just want you to respect their boundaries.
if I'm the successful one and you're coming in and I'm dating you and we're going steady, at what point do you think you get to start saying you need to stop working this day because
Right.
that? That's gonna say you want to compromise. However, this is date two.
Right.
I don't need to compromise with you at all.
Right.
Right?
So that's why
Right.
I feel like yeah, I feel like it depends. I feel like some people might. I feel like it depends on the couple. I feel like if you have a more easy playing field, or let's say you're an athlete, and then maybe maybe you're a trainer, or maybe you're a cheerleader for one of the NFL teams, or whatever the case may be. Your schedule's a little bit more flexible. You guys have a little bit more openness. You guys are probably in close proximities because you're traveling a lot.
Mhm,
So I
mhm.
think there's not maybe a lot of compromise there, right? But maybe somebody who's in the military and then somebody who's at home, there might be some compromise on who's going to go see who,
Absolutely.
or who's going to do so, or
Absolutely.
if it's a long distance relationship, or somebody might be in school and somebody might be graduated. So who's going to play what role until such and such is finished. So I think those things, yeah, compromise. But I think when we're talking about successful partners, I think you can only be a successful partner once the relationship is successful. So at that
Yes.
point, I think it becomes more of a boundary thing, because
Yes.
I think there, even because there's entitlement, right? You might have met him when he was just a college, he was just playing college ball. Now he getting ready to get drafted, so maybe your expectations of him are more, but maybe he doesn't feel like you're entitled to that, because I'm just getting started. But in your
Yep.
mind, I've been here since before you even got drafted. So baby, I want the car, I want the G-Wagon, I want this, I want that. So I think it just depends on the nature of a relationship. But I think they both can come into play. I think they're both
They
required. I think compromise.
yeah, I think there in the course of your relationship, there's always going to be a back and forth between each, especially when, even if you're a successful person in the beginning, right? We'll play this in different variations. If I already recognize what value you bring, I may have the millions, I may have the business, I may have the townhouse, the condo, right? But when you came into my life, I immediately recognize your value. I'm going to compromise. I'm going to compromise because I see your value, right?
Right,
When you make yourself, and that's any good business deal. I see your value. I see you have what I need. We're gonna talk. Hey, what's the price? Let's compromise. Let's negotiate.
right, right,
Boundaries. I think sometimes we understand boundaries because we tie those very closely to respect. So if you're doing something that is approaching disrespecting your partner, I think you're always in danger of blowing things up. When you compromise, when you want someone to compromise with you, you compromise from a near equal or equal playing field. You don't get to say, "I'm just here and he should do this. I'm just here and
right,
she should recognize that I'm the man of this house. You didn't buy the house, you didn't furnish the house, you didn't do anything in this house. You moved into my place and you want me to compromise how? Doesn't make any
right.
sense, right? Doesn't make any
Which is
sense.
where boundaries would come into play to have that conversation about compromise. Hey, babe, I know this is your place. I know you've been here for 3 years before I even moved in. What do you feel about me at least doing the bathroom? He might not want you coming and touching his living room, but the compromise
Hmm.
and decorate the bathroom. So
Yes.
in her mind, she's a little bit more of a say so, but in his mind, he don't really care because that's the bathroom his homies don't get to see. So he don't care about all that girly
Yeah.
stuff in there. But it's
Yeah.
compromise, right? It's a compromise. Or like you said, I have something to do Friday night. Okay, we go to do Friday night. Now, most people might go ahead and go their separate ways at the end of the night, right? But maybe you might be like, babe, I don't have time to go do brunch in the morning, but if you want to come by and just hang out or do something, you can do that. But I'm gonna be busy. So she already knows when we get back to the crib, we might have fun, might do what we do, but mommy has something to do in the morning. So maybe I might wake up and start cleaning, maybe I'll make the bed, maybe I'll run some laundry, maybe I'll go take a walk, maybe I'll get some work done. But I think again, if we're communicating what our lives entail and what our day to day looks like, I think they kind of gives the other person a chance to kind of not jump on a bandwagon, but align, right? Because if you hear
Yep.
your man say he has work to do on a Saturday, right? Which a lot of people don't typically work on Saturdays, but people do. So if you hear him saying he has a product that he's working on Saturday, that might not be the time for you to be lollygagging around the house and playing music and taking
No.
shots, and because it's throwing off the energy of the nature of the home in his progression. And the same thing with a female. Your wife might have a big project she might have to turn in on Monday, or she might be in school. Maybe she's a student working on her master's. She needs you to understand the boundaries of, okay, babe, you can come spend the night, but I really have to get this lesson done by Sunday because I have class on Monday. So don't come over Saturday and then want to have her with a tooted up all Sunday, okay? And then knowing she ain't get that paper done, okay? Because sometimes they'll let you do that. So this is what I'm saying. I think again, it's a boundary thing in success, because even when we're talking about somebody's faith, they might obligate themselves to Bible study every Wednesday. You might come and say, babe, let's do dinner. I really want to go get some hibachi. I'm going to pick you up. But she goes to Bible study every Wednesday. So I think even there's boundaries in respecting people's faith. Maybe we might do it before, but to ask me at the time that I'm going to Bible study, I feel
You're
like is a
right.
distraction from what I'm doing.
I'm doing this and it's important and integral to who I am. Then you
Right,
want to intercede in that. And then
right.
that's where we find ourselves in situations where people start gaslighting and start saying, yo, I'm just trying to do what you
Manipulating the
said, right?
situation.
The manipulate, right. And to that, I think we need to be very, very quickly say, that's the boundary. I've told you about this. You have a good day, right? You
And
have a
I,
good day.
and to piggyback off the moms really quickly, that's what happened with Olivia and Gerard. When Gerard has always been a worker, he's always been a worker, he's always been a provider, he's always done the best he could for his family. Olivia, for the majority, has done social media. When he met her, she was working out, I believe, AutoZone or something like that. So never really a concrete job, but she was making a couple dollars, right? So I think even when they started to do the YouTube thing, you would notice she felt more comfortable taking care of him. She felt more comfortable with him being in the home so that she can control what he did and where he went. But he always had that energy to kind of get out and be a provider and be the alpha. And so even when they moved to Florida and she was doing a little bit well for stuff, he didn't have a job at the time. And I remember him saying, like, yo, I really want to get a job. He was saying, like, I really want to start working. And she was like, no, you don't need to work. Like, you can stay with me all day. And she would go and she would buy these big bottles of Crown Royal. They were drinking Crown Royal at the time. And the kids would be up. And I remember she would get him drunk because she knew he liked to drink. And I'm not saying she would I'm not saying she would force him, but she would manipulate the situation because that's his weakness, right? If you know somebody has a problem with alcohol and they're not really strong with pushing it or rejecting it, you're manipulating the situation by constantly providing large quantities of alcohol to an unemployed individual. And you can tell he got to a place where he wasn't comfortable. I don't have no money. You making and breaking all of the rules. I gotta wait for your check to bust a move. You treating me like I'm anything. And then I think he started to realize the hindrance in the alcohol, the hindrance in the not allowing me to work, the hindrance in wanting to take care of him. I think he realized that because the wife that he has now is the complete opposite. He takes care of all the bills, he takes care of the car notes and the insurance. And so she gets to just be a stay-at-home mom and do what she needs to do. You can tell Olivia never, like I said, going back to being treated properly and seeing a woman being treated properly. She didn't know how to do it, but because Gerard has seen his father provide and seen his father get out, he knew that wasn't right. He's not a user. So he'll let you be the breadwinner if that's the season, but he's not a Zola. He's not going to just sit there and just let you take from you. And I think that's what kind of broke them too. She never uplifted him. She never encouraged him to go back into trucking or encouraged him. She never said, well, babe, I know you really like trucking. Your family got something going on. Let's save it for a truck. Instead of spending $13,000 on a house, you should have invested that into a trucking business. Y'all first year married and stayed in the apartment. But this is what I'm saying. It was never routine. It was never from the forefront a plan to have a real family plan. And you can tell, like I said, once he got out of that, his identity came back. Because what women have to understand is men need their own identity. Men need their own way of feeling like I can provide and I can move and I'm secure. Even my child's father, he has his own. Sometimes he's like, listen, I'm in my mode. I got to do what I got to do to take care of X, Y, and Z. I can't handle you and your drama right now. Okay?
Yeah,
Talk to you later. So you
I
have
think
to just, again, respect boundaries. And although I need what I need from you right now, in some moments I have to be like, you know what? He's always kept this word before. I need what I need today, but I know I'll get it on Wednesday. And so I
I think
think that comes with
that's a good.
maturity and wanting him to do better. I want my child's father to do better, not for me or for my child, but do better for you because the better you are as a parent, as an individual, the better you are to your children, your mother, your sister, your whoever your next lady, whoever the case may be. But when I feel like people try to, apprehend people's growth, there's a resentment. And I think that's what that was with that. There was a resentment. You're growing, you got this money, your children are growing, and I'm sitting at home getting drunk all day, being the stay-at-home dad. So I think women have to understand to let a man be a man. And even though you might not have a man or in your home, or maybe you never had a father in your home, I think women have to stop being so aggressive and quick to take care of a man. I don't know where this whole fixing a man came from and making life easier for a man came from. Being together in a couple is about coming together as one, but you have to come with your half. I got to come with my half, and then we bring our halves together. But if that person doesn't have their half, you probably shouldn't be intertwining. So
I think
him being
that comes
unemployed
from
should
you.
have
That
never
comes from you
resulted in
being
wedding bells.
afraid of being alone, right? That's where that just comes from, and you need to control and micromanage these things in order to keep that person with you. But I think it was a good segue to another question that TP had. Do you think love should ever come second to purpose, or should purpose always serve love? I think those questions, those answers are gender dependent, are gender dependent.
Gender
I
dependent.
think, yeah, I think those are
Mm,
gender dependent.
do you think love should overcome? I feel like people put a lot of emphasis on love. And I think that people have to understand that love is beautiful and it makes you feel great and all of those things, but love is not enough. And I think the minute that people realize in relationships love is not enough, they'll do a little bit better with adding more to the table. You get what I'm saying? So, like
Yeah.
you said to overcome. You said, do you think love should ever come second to purpose, or should purpose always serve love? I think the purpose should always serve love. I think love is going to be love, and I think as long as you two are fighting for it, you guys are wanting it, it's going to do what it needs to do. But I definitely think that you should always focus on yourself. I think unless you're married and unless you guys are together, but even when you're married, you still need mental health days. You still need to work on your health, your physical. If you're overweight, making sure your body, if your blood pressure's high, bringing it down. If you're a diabetic, making sure. So I think there's a little bit of a selfishness that a lot of people don't speak about that does show up in relationships.
I
Again,
think you need it.
you dating
We
someone
need
who's
it.
happy with their weight, but your
Yeah.
girlfriend is like, I want to lose 25 pounds, so she goes and throws all the snacks out the house. You guys are on two different pages. That doesn't mean you're not compatible. That just means in this season, maybe she just had a baby. Maybe she want to lose the baby weight, and you like, girl, you baby, you look fine. You got little hips too. You got little thigh. So there might be differences, but I think that if she gets caught up in what he's got going, she's not going to stay true to herself. So I think even in that, the purpose has to serve the love, and if he loves her enough, he'll support what she has going on, and he'll allow her to do what she needs to do, and then come back when she's back, or not have the bombs or make the nachos, or when she loses 25 pounds, I can have nachos. But right
You
now
know,
she doesn't want to eat them,
yeah,
so
I
you got
think
to learn to support.
a single man's purpose, needs to exist before he starts searching and for love, because what we see as men, we often get into this spot where this becomes the end all be all. This is the totality of it because we never develop the purpose. You become the thing we're fixated on, and then when things go wrong, or before things go wrong, I'm now so invested in keeping you happy, I've lost myself. I've completely lost myself. And sometimes people need to hear, no, you're off base. No, what you're saying is wrong. No. Instead, I become so fixated on saying, I got to keep you happy because otherwise I don't know who I am without you. That becomes toxic. That becomes codependent. And men can constantly lose themselves in that sort of way. That's why when she leaves, he's a broken shell of who he is. That is what we need to sort of walk away from. But what someone was saying, I think love fuels purpose. Yeah. But this isn't limited to love romantic form. This could be actually self and even spiritual. What the drive and energy I have to get up every day when I've been like my family knows I've been exhausted since I knew what the word was. But they're part of that battery that gets up and fuels me and says, all right, you gotta get up, you gotta work, you gotta get up,
Right,
you gotta work. You just can't chill and rest on the laurels. Doing better for my family becomes intrinsic in my purpose,
right,
intrinsic in that love.
right,
What I was saying before, men right now, if we're looking at just the building blocks and how to fix a lot of things that are just dumb and stupid with us, men, you need a purpose. You need a purpose, and not just a silly little thing that you say is your purpose. No, you need a purpose that will be your guiding light in your life that you're constantly striving for. And then when you hit it, you readjust. You hit it, you readjust. You hit it, you
right,
readjust. This way, now all the other things in your life become more and more ordered. Because as much as we like to say that men aren't emotional, men don't really connect in those sort of ways. When we do, we
right,
go over the deep end. We go. Every man can probably tell you about that girl that first broke his heart. It's still there, right? It's still there. It's still a fact, right? Because we threw everything at that because we didn't understand. We didn't know that, you know what? You needed to be more. You needed to have a thing that kept you on the rails. Even when you don't feel like it, like someone else in the chat room, once you have kids, that becomes your duty. That's what you need. When you
right,
don't feel like doing anything, you know you have a duty to still do it.
right. And
You have
that's
a
so
duty
funny
to
because I was
support.
just thinking to myself earlier, like, I was watching somebody. Somebody was doing something. Oh, I was on the phone with somebody and a friend of mine. I was like, "What you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just hanging out." And I'm thinking to myself, like, "Oh, I'm so thankful." But and I don't want to go into detail, but what exactly we're doing. But in that moment, I was just like, "Oh, I'm so thankful that I have a child because I think if I didn't, I'd probably be outside just cutting up and carrying on like that particular friend." And it's not to throw any shade or anything. It's just the realization of you certain things will save you from being caught up. You get what I'm saying? Just say people, sometimes your children, sometimes your job, sometimes going to school, leaving home and going to college. There are certain things in life that are monumental that, like you said, are like you for you, it's your family. Like, right, it's knowing that your sisters might need you, knowing that your mom's watching. That's what keeps your channel clean. That's what keeps your content clean. That's what keeps you from getting out of line, right? So you found your thing, you found your purpose. And I think a lot of men, like you said, women too, I think they don't know their purpose. And that's why I said, what is your purpose? What do you want your children to experience? Where do you want to take your children this summer? What do you want your husband to experience? Or your mother? You know, what do you, and I think when people, and that's where again millionaire mindset stem from. People finding a valuable purpose outside of their everyday or their routine. Because let's be honest, a lot of people are trying to survive. A lot of people are trying to get in where they fit in. They're trying to make it work, and they're going with the flow. Okay, this is what
Hmm.
they went to school
Hmm.
for. This is what they got the degree in. This is what they paying all them damn student loans on. And so this where we gonna stay. It might not be serving them mentally. It might not be serving them emotionally. It might be serving them spiritually, but it's serving them financially. So they're gonna stay, right? There's a whole plethora of things that I think we're just speaking about the word love, that people can love their job. They can love a drug. They can love a person. They can love everybody has their own addiction. And so I think that you can never be so caught up in anything that you forget who you are and what you owe to yourself, no matter what it is. There's people who love working out, and they'll work out so bad that they become sick. Or there's people
Hmm.
who get so
Hmm.
caught up in losing weight that they become anemic, or not anemic, they become, what do you call it, bulimic, or
Bulimic.
they
Yeah.
have anorexia, or they have eating disorders. So I think not loving something too much is never healthy. And I think that that's why I always advocate for my ladies to love themselves. Absolutely love your spouse. I love my man to death, and he knows that. But he also, and I make that very clear with anybody, and I think it's important to know that I love me more. I will never love you more than I love myself. And I
Yeah.
mean that with all sincerity. But I think
Yeah.
that needs to be a conversation that's had, because too many times people, oh, I'm so in love, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love. And people take heed to that. And they play on that, and they manipulate that, and they use that, and they have it in my, oh, she loved me, she ain't gonna leave, or oh, he loved me, he ain't gonna leave. And then you see broken homes. You see people got tired of being played, or women got tired of being played, or men got, and so now there's two separate households. One child's here, one child's there, and there's no dynamic. So, like I said, having purpose, I think in day to day, especially even in your friendship, how does
Yep.
this friend serve you? If this friend is not serving you, why are we friends? Just to get drunk and go to the club together? Can I pray with you? Can I call you? Can I talk to you? You know what I'm saying? You'll get to learn it, and especially after going through my spiritual journey and being baptized. A lot of people were just as involved in the moment as I was, but once I stopped showcasing the moment, they stopped supporting the moment. When in all actuality, the moment is still going on behind closed seats. Just because I don't present it to you
Hmm.
doesn't mean I'm not doing it in my daily life. This is the internet, right? But what happened to your support? What happened to your text messages? And you sending me prayers, and you sending me scriptures, and you sending me music? Has nothing to do with what I'm showing you publicly, right? If you were sincere when I was doing that before, keep doing what you're doing. Stop worrying about what I'm doing and shit. Like, my friends don't have to tell me to pray for them. My friends don't have to tell me to send them motivational texts. My men don't have to tell me they don't have to tell me that. So I think that, like I said, even with friendships, you guys have to really protect your space and just protect the people that are around you, because some people are around you for transactional purposes and you don't even know it. So,
Right. But I think
really,
some people can serve that purpose. And real quick, guys, I know people just people coming in and out. Subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. We're just trying to push this out further to Instagram, not Instagram, to YouTube. We're trying to make sure like we're having good conversations, valuable
legend.
conversation, not tearing down. We just want everyone kind of be better. But in the sense that we're talking about transactional relationships, yeah, I think we're sliding into this era where we're heightening that, we're making it seem like this is the thing to do. This is the way to be. I'm seeing more and more content with people simply with their hand out and expecting the very best from whichever gender. There was
Right.
um there was an event, and I'm trying to get a little more data. I think in the DMV area, a Cougars and Cub event, right? Where you see, I think it was a bar or like a club, and it's filled with like men, middle aged to older to middle aged to young men to middle aged, all looking for a sugar mama, for someone older to take care of them. And
Okay.
like like I understand that turnabout is fair play, but to me, it's like, where we headed? And I'm not trying to say that, yeah, I traditionally believe that, yeah, man should, if we're together, I should give you options. If you want to work, I want to be able to facilitate that. If you don't want to work, you want to stay home, take it. I want to be able to facilitate that. I understand this is a thing of degrees, this is a conversation of salary, of income. I don't understand when men are just like, I want to completely remove myself from that. I want to be taken care of. I want to just
Yeah.
chill. I want to have everything done for me. And then we're in a place in society where we're pushing that out while simultaneously saying that men need to be able to be traditional. I think we're sort of lost in this transactional nature. And sometimes we
Right.
need to set people aside and say, that's good for you. You do that over there. But
Right.
in the main, I'm always curious about how things are playing out from a woman's perspective. How do you see that when a man is saying, I want you to be the breadwinner and I want you to buy me a PlayStation and NBA 2K?
Right. Like that's wild. But I feel like I feel like an insecure woman feels like that's all she has to offer is what she can do financially. I feel like even an insecure man, we call them simps, right? That's the terminology for them.
Yeah.
Somebody who's simple, they can take advantage, whatever the case may be. I think that's an insecurity thing because I think once you're secure in yourself and who you are, you won't need to keep people around with what you can provide for them. Right. So even if you have a disability, even I know people who I know this guy, man, he rest in peace, he used to be in a wheelchair, right? And he was the bud man. So all the dudes in the hood knew him because he was the bud man, but all of the chicks knew him because he would give away free bud to the chicks. You know what I'm saying? Because he would be flirting. And I remember he called himself liking one of my homegirls. It's so ironic they both passed away, man. She rest in peace. And I remember one time I was going to get, I used to smoke. So I was going to get my little whatever. And she wanted to come. And she's like, you could drop me off. And I remember like, I could drop you. And she was like, yeah, we're talking here and there. And I'm like, the man in the wheelchair? She's like, yeah. And so I already knew then, like that. And for me, that stuff like that has always thrown me off. Like I'm not getting in the bed with nobody, and I'm not shading anybody. That's just for me. Now, we would have to have a connection, is what I'm saying. I'm not about to just get in the bed because you get an SSI and I'm finessing you. But there are women that will finesse handicapped men, men
Oh
with
yeah.
disabilities, women who are incapacitated, women who are overweight and are bedbound. It goes both ways. But for me as a woman, and again, I think because I saw my father provide. I saw my mom was a stay-at-home mom for a time period. She was able to go back to school. I went to private school. So I never saw I saw that. Rain, sleet, hail, snow, he was getting up going to work. There was never, oh, I'm taking off, oh, I'm sick. Again, he would travel for work. He would go just to make extra money and go on tour and be playing field hockey and go play this and go do that and go play soccer and go back and forth just to, like I said, bring an extra. He would teach at Ramapo. He would go to different universities. So when you see this, and then he would to church every Sunday. You didn't miss a church. You didn't miss a Sunday at church. So when you grow up like that, for me, like I said, I've always entertained, but I want to entertain, right? But when you know better, you do better. And so I think a lot of women think that they should take care of a man. They grew up in a single parent household. Maybe their mom didn't have a man, and maybe they saw their mom taking care of a man. That's how their mom would keep a man by buying him food or catering to him or cooking for him or giving him a place to stay. And so I think that's a learned behavior. I think seeing your mother cater to your father or seeing your mother cater to your father figure versus seeing your mother cater to men is two different things. And there's a lot of households where these women are catering to men. They meeting these men, they cooking for them, they moving them in, they running bath waters for them, and all of this weird stuff, buying their groceries and all this buying game systems and letting them move their stuff in and doing niggas laundries and all this wild stuff. So what are you showing your kids? You showing your kids that this man don't got to be on a lease. This man don't got to come up with nothing. Because my thing has always been, why are men always moving into the apartment with the woman and child? Where is your situation? Why are they always moving into your kingdom with you and your children? Where is their foundation? Because a man with his own foundation, his ego won't even allow him to move into yours. His ego is going to make you move into his, whereas his ego going to make you sell
Yep.
what you got so y'all can get something together. So I can always tell when certain women have not had that solid foundation, or just, and even if you didn't have that, you can still do your research. People still watch TV. You can still go and look up different podcasts and just hear how men interpret. Even if you listen to how Easy talks, you can tell Easy's not a man that would have his chick barefoot and pregnant with no money. You can tell the way he talks, he would never have his chick somewhere down and out with nothing to stand for. So even if you just listen to the conversation of a male perspective, you understand, okay, maybe he's taking advantage of me. Easy said he would never have his chick paying all the bills. That's crazy. So maybe he right. Maybe I need to listen to 5 more Easies. Like, maybe that's your virtual brother. And that's what people be feeling in real life too. Like, ET is a virtual grandfather for me. Like, Wall Street Trapper is a virtual brother. Like, if I need anything, I'm going to watch Trap. I'm going to go watch
Mm-hmm.
Nat, because
Mm-hmm.
Natalie is really good to his girlfriend. I've been watching Natalie since she was a TLC. Okay. So, and Natalie been outside. Natalie used to run with them drug dealers and them trappers, and she's transparent about that. She's honest about that. So now that and then Trap used to be outside. So now you have people who have been in those lives. They've been outside, they've played those games, and they see it ain't nothing coming from that. And so they've learned from that. So I think for women, there are men out here who will take care of you. There are men out here who will uplift you and pray for you and go to counseling with you, or go to chemo with you, so you don't have to settle for the man that's going to take from you because you got cancer. You know what I'm saying? Or the man
Right.
that only wants to mess with you because you getting prescriptions because you got cancer, and he really don't like you for real, but he like you because you get the script every first of the month, so he uses you for your pain pills. It's that going on too.
That's nasty work.
It
As
is, but
the
it's real. And that poor thing,
it's
she
real.
in pain, and he ain't coming home because he making the money selling your pills. Now you in pain and you lonely.
Ambrose.
I'm just telling you what's
Ambrose.
going on out here.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, as men, what we often hear, or we get caught up in the space of hearing that when your man is selling your pain pills, right? And you come out of that, right? And you come out of that, you're like, all men are like this, right?
Right.
To me, some of the stuff is so foreign. It's absolutely so foreign because the way I grew up, the way I just decided this is the type of man I want to be, through my own mistakes, through my own lessons, through my own growth. So okay, this is not the type of ish I want to put out. And this really relates to the last question TP had. Um, what you say? Last question is true feeling about having everything you want or needing less. And do you both want legacy to be what you left behind for others or how deeply you live for yourself? I think this is an absolute loaded question, an unfair question because there's
Wait,
so
I
many
don't
things in
see
here
it.
that
What's the
agree.
question?
You gotta scroll up.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, okay,
it's
I
true
see it.
freedom. Yeah, it's true freedom about having everything you want or needing less. I think the more you get, the more you have the opportunity to purchase and get the things that you've always wanted. Think about when you were little as a kid and you say, I can't wait to grow up and buy all the candy I want, and buy all the candy and toys I want. Then you grow up and you have the ability to do these things and you say, the wants are different. The wants are completely different now. So I think the more accomplished you become, the
Right.
more wealth, the more access to things you have, you start peeling it. There's a point in time where you go stupid. You buy stupid stuff. You do stupid things. When my brother when he was studying to become a nurse, and I tried to give him in advance the warning of what's going to happen when you suddenly make six figures. It took me years of being in six figures before I figured out all this stuff is noise. So I want to save him that time of wasting time. Oh, okay, I'm doing it. No, you don't get on this path right now because you think six figures is it. You're basically climbing this mountain, and it reveals that the earth the earth opens up, the skies part, and you reveal like you're only on this little hill. There's the mountains up there. I want to save you
Right.
that time that it takes you to realize all this because all this is nonsense.
Right.
You both want your legacy to be what you left behind for others or how deeply you live for yourself. I think as a man, we hear legacy and there's some part of our brain that goes a little wild, goes a little crazy. We want to leave something. So maybe it's the fear of the world not knowing that we existed, that we came this way. We want to have something that people can go back and say, yeah, my granddaddy did that. Right? Because you're not going to visit me on a spiritual trip like plane like T'Challa, get to talk to his father. right? So I want to leave something that at least my family could know he started what would benefit from. And I know if
Right.
this is an intrinsic thing just for men, but you can give your what your opinion is on that.
Well, okay, and real quick, I'm gonna answer that, but just because I see Peter and Liz are having a conversation, and Liz is saying many men don't want to commit nowadays, and Peter is saying a lot of us want to commit, but then we show it and get our heart shattered. Us men have more emotions in us than women do, and so I just want to piggyback off of Liz first, where she said many men don't want to commit to don't want commitment nowadays. I'm gonna be very honest. I think it depends on the circles you're in. And I have a lot of single friends. I have some married friends, and I have friends who are in a relationship. And I find more so than not, all my single friends, they be in the house. They be in the
Yep.
house. They don't travel. They don't go to shows or plays, or they don't take trips. They don't go to different arenas. They don't go to games. They don't go to. They're not going where you can find that. And so if you're not a person that is online dating, if you're not a person that has a social life and you're just going to work and coming home, you're not going to meet your Boaz. And not only are you not going to meet your Boaz, but you're not going to meet the person that will align with you. So whatever you enjoy doing, that's kind of what you got to get yourself out involved and engaged in doing. And that's typically how you probably meet your significant other. For me, I was traveling. I met my significant other traveling. We both traveled. They've traveled a little bit more abroad than I have, but I've traveled as well. And so that's how we were able to connect. Or where have you been? Where have you been? Okay, well, I've been with my family. I've gone, where would you like to go? Like, I remember one of the first conversations, like, if you could have a dream date anywhere, like, where would it be? That was my question. He's like, I never had thought of that. Like, I never
Yeah.
thought of that. So I think it's just having fun and thinking outside of the box. But I think men are scared to commit because I think women, and I'm just going to be honest, I think we have a very transactional mindset sometimes. And I
Hmm.
think that there are a lot of men who see that women have transactional mindsets. And so a lot, I think more, I'm gonna be honest, more women are willing to commit than men trust that they are willing to commit.
Yes. Yes.
I think
Yes.
that's what it
Yes.
is. I think men are not
Yes.
trusting that these women are really with them. These women are really for them. Because I'm gonna be honest, one of the hardest things about locking in into and committing into my relationship was losing all of my options. Far as just help, I could call anybody. Hey, I need this. Hey, I need that. Hey, I need that. And it doesn't even have to be sexual relationships. It's just knowing that you have all of these people who rock with you, who know you from back home, who know you from when you was 17, 18, 25, 30, whatever the case may be. They've seen you grow. They've seen your journey. They see. So these people that have locked in. So these are people that I know. If I call right now and be like, let me get 200, they got me. But that's disrespectful to my partner. So I think
Hmm.
for women, because a lot of our relationships are transactional, for us it's cutting that off. And I think men know that women have a lot of transactional situations, so believing that they're willing to cut that off, I think that's another thing too. And I think people don't date. I think people have to get back to dating, and not just dating for 2 3 weeks and get in a relationship. I mean, really courting and dating, asking the hard questions, ask talking about family planning. And I've always said to women, and you can and easy might disagree, but I feel like a man knows early on, even if you're not his wife, if your wife potential.
Yes.
A man knows early on if he's talking to you, he can tell. And women, you can always tell based off the questions that he asks. If you're talking to a man for 6 months and he never talked to you about family, he never talked to you about marriage, he never talks to you about religion, he never talks to you about living arrangements, or that's he's not looking at you like that. Because if what's the point of us talking? You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
think first men are leaders, and I think they kind of have that. So to answer you, I don't think it's. I think it's the other way around. I think men. I think men are just nervous to trust that women really want to commit to them.
Yeah. I think men have become completely gun shy because of the experiences that they've seen their friends or their own experiences. And the internet is very good in transmitting that. For such a long time, we didn't have these spaces to have these conversations. So here comes the wide world internet, and people are saying, and people from disparate parts of the world are saying, yes, the same thing happened to me. Yes, the same thing happened to me. So we stopped thinking that in our relationship that you were the bad person all the time. You get
Right.
to start seeing like, wait, that happened. The same. series of things happen, the very same thing, they're like, okay, okay. Then you take into account divorce laws and you see how unfair things go. Men are just like, oh, whoa, I'm willingly walking into this. They're
Right.
saying like it doesn't make sense. Then as we've gone and become more modern and stepped away from traditional roles, women are saying, yeah, you don't need us. So it's a trailing effect. For so many years, you've said that you don't need us. You may want us, but you don't need us. And then all of us are trash. Now, as we get older, we're now being told to re-engage. No, but you said you didn't. You said that wasn't important. That wasn't a thing. That wasn't what you wanted. But now it's like, no, men are afraid to commit. In that sense, absolutely, because it's a learned response. It's
Right.
not that men are still desirous. They yeah, if you can get that person, your person, that person that resonates with you, they're like, yeah, I'd get out the game. But
Right.
we're constantly seeing that. And I've said this on my channel a couple of times. We when you are and Liz, this is addressing your question. When you're in in your little group of girls and you're all going out there doing your thing, and they're like, yeah, these men ain't shit. And you're like, no, but I know a couple guys that are good guys. You don't vocalize that, right? You go along with the group. The good women, the
No,
one
I'm
that
that friend
want
that's going. I'm that friend that's going to tell you because I got
yeah,
I you're not about
we're
to throw
talking
that
in
on all
general.
men.
Right, we're
No,
talking in
I'm not going
general,
to do that
right?
because I know I like to
Right.
chat.
It should be that way. You're like, wait, hold up. No. I
Yeah.
know plenty of good men. I know plenty of good men that would be meet all your standards. But what we hear from the media, from social media, from sources high and low, y'all niggas ain't shit. Y'all niggas ain't
Right.
shit. Right?
Right.
If he don't do this, he ain't shit. If he don't do that, he ain't. So men are just like, cool. I want to rock out with the ones that are want our attention. They want to be around. They appreciate what we do. But until we can find that, we're just gonna be like, okay, listen, do whatever you want,
You know what I'm
right?
saying?
Have fun, do whatever you want. But Liz was saying about men have become sort of isolated because of dating apps. Men's success on dating apps is abysmal. It's absolutely abysmal. It mirrors all you're doing. You're getting access to men that you
But wait,
never would have paid attention to anyway.
she's also saying due to like podcasts and stuff like that. More so
Yeah,
than when she said I think when she's saying online, she's not talking about dating. She's talking about like podcasts where men are sitting on there on the piano together, I think.
yeah. Look, listen, so, and I'm fine calling out a lot of those panels. A lot of those panels are completely. These are people that simply could afford the equipment, right? And you're listening to them, and like if you're going to listen to them in entirety. Listen to how they actually communicate. Some guys sound like they know what they're talking about, and we have the bias because they're in front of us, because they're on our screen, in which where we consume all this information, we think what they're saying is right. But when you listen to some of the stuff, you're like, that doesn't make any type of sense.
Right.
But it's good for clicks. It's good for
Right.
views. If I say something that seems wild, yeah, more people are going to say, I'm going to see this. I'm going to react to it. I'm going to be more eyes to it. And then when you sometimes get the behind the scenes, like tonight's conversation, when you start to see, well, this is actually what's happening. I
Right.
can tell you all this. In
Mhm.
reality, this is happening. Or like with No Fugazi, saying all this about single moms, you're with one,
Right.
right? So it's there's always an element that we have to look and say, what is instead of just resonating with the words being said, we need to sit down and start saying, is this person that's acting as an expert in this, do they have your best interest at heart, or are they just saying these things because they want your attention? If I just
Right.
want your attention, I'm going to say whatever it takes to keep you there. And sometimes that's leading into your delusion, and sometimes and that's usually not breaking your delusion. That's telling you, yeah, think it Derek Jackson. Derek Jackson leaned into that heavy. Meanwhile,
Right.
Derek Jackson was doing all he could master classes on how to do dirt.
Right. And people were soaking it up.
People
And
soaking
so
it up.
again, I think that all just depends on because everybody has their own mindset, right? There are some people that will watch certain things that I might not agree with and see it's totally fine. And there are people that might watch my content and be like, yeah, I'm not supporting it. So I really just think that falls down into an individual thing. But like I said, to generalize it, I really, and just piggy, because even Peter said it. Peter's like, men are a little bit more emotional than women understand. And I
Yes.
think that's another thing too. If I could suggest just to some of my single women, or even my women in relationships, I think there's another thing too. I think because, and again, I've been there, because we sometimes lead with the transactional mindset, your ability to kind of really resonate and hone in and tap into who that person is or what that person needs or what that person comes with, I think it kind of goes over your head, right? But if you had a more intentional reason for why you were interacting with that person, you would be able to better support them and show up, right? And so I think even going back to the commitment thing, right? I often see, even in certain dynamics with just coaching and doing my one-on-ones, a lot of women don't know how to support a man. They don't know how to show
No.
up for a man. They don't
No.
know how. Y'all think that if you go over there and you cook for him, you give him some cat, you play in his face, you do something, that's you've done what you need to do. But you've never asked that person, what do you need from me in this moment? How can I make things more peaceful for you? And I think, again, because we're taught the transactional, it's very me, 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 me. What can he do for me? How can he make me feel? How can he console me? How can he did it to me? And I think we have to go back to it being and going, back and forth. We're kind of piggybacking and being a vice versa type of thing. And I think if women would be a little bit more open to wanting to understand, I think men would be more comfortable and be more vulnerable in pouring in. And I think
Yes.
because I honestly think we're lacking communication. I think there's nothing wrong with the generation other than we don't talk. I think everybody has an assumption about everybody. Everybody think
Yep.
men are hoes. The
Yep.
men think the girls are
Yep.
hoes. You think he dusty. He thinks she dusty. Everybody twerking. Everybody think everybody got BBLs. So it's a whole bunch of that going on. Instead of us really sitting and saying, well, I see you got your body done. But what do you do for a living? Maybe she got her body done, but she's a nurse. I know plenty of nurses that got their body done because they got nurse school and they got no kids and no man. So you never know what people get into, right? But that's just something vague, right? People just assume, right? So I think that you have to learn to, and that's why I'm really big on relationships with people. And that's why it's hard for me to cut people off. Because when I build with people, it's not about sex. It's not about what you can do for me. Over the course of time and over getting to know me and respect me and deal with me, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, right? But off forefront, it's just based off conversation and how I show up. So one thing, I told you that from before. One thing about me, I'm big on respect because I'm big on keeping that rapport. I'm big on keeping that solid foundation. And again, I see that with women, not all, but a lot, especially in my generation, early 30s, 31, 32. We're not real friendly. Like I have a lot of friends that be like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing all that. And their
Hmm.
energy, your energy to it is completely off. You're definitely not ready to be a wife. Because all that I'm not, that don't work. You know what
I
I'm
think
saying?
that's that's
It's a covenant,
that
and you
that's
gotta
what
constantly cover your covenant. If you're not
that's
ready
what
to cover it.
that's what constantly we
Oh,
sort of
somebody
mentioned real
sent you
quick.
a super
Yeah,
chat. Maybe you
LBC.
should.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sign through show support. Listen, I really appreciate the any type of support. You know, and LBC is one of the great contributors, to the channel where she gets in there and she'll write like actual responses. She'll go back and forth. This high level discourse going in. So if you guys want to be
Right,
part of that, subscribe.
right,
Um, what we were saying, what to piggyback, say what Liz was talking about, men don't want to commit. I think sometimes women have the default opinion that they
mhm,
are wives. You default opinion that you're the fairer, better sex partner, and you're ready to be with a man. Why I think we see like the divorce rate when it does occur, why often it's initiated by women, because there is a very real difference between being a girlfriend, being a fiance, and then being a wife. When you don't
right.
understand what changes and things change, you're not just like, I'm a really good girlfriend, therefore I'll just be a really great wife. There are different aspects that go into that, and we don't have that communication, like Peter was saying. We don't talk, we don't communicate, we don't lay out expectations, we don't do all the very necessary steps. We just have this default opinion, like, no, because I'm such a great, awesome individual, I'll be a great, awesome partner, and that's wildly different. We we have a society where we speak for men. We say that men are desirous of these things; they're only good for X, Y, and Z. But in reality, like Peter's saying, we feel, we love, we have these emotions in very real quantities, and quantities that are often simply just ignored. Um, no, you're not a wife until you still love me. Yeah, we'll
No, I'm
go
here.
for the worst.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Two of my favorite. Jesus, some of you guys are funny. Um, yeah, guys will always want sex, but the right one will not. The right guy will just want to spend time with you. Yeah. Um, I think we all want sex, but we all some of us can. I want this, but I can set this aside because there's something out here that I'm trying to build, or something that's more important. Often, when you lead with just transactional sex, then that's just what happens. People are going to say, "I'm just going to accept that for what you came in, what you brought in." So we drop say hello to everyone that just came in. Um, and again, LBC, thank you for the super chat, guys. Hit that subscribe button. Uh, it's great seeing the subscriber count grow. It's great seeing when you guys actually interact with the content. It means the world to me. Um, we're going to have to cut this right here because one, my phone is about to die. Two, I still got content I got to push out for you guys tomorrow. Again, we're
And
still trying to do two a day.
mommy's been calling. I've been on here for a while.
Yeah,
But if you could just really quickly on your way out, just kind of name maybe like four things. Four, because just to kind of answer Peter, but just four things that you as a single man would be looking for or qualities when that type of commitment. We don't even have to go as far as marriage, but just some of the four qualities that would be important to you. And I feel like we talked about that maybe before, but I feel like if you just simplify it, say four and kind of chug it, it'll kind of retain a little bit more.
I
Because
think
I think
one of
that I think and again we might have to pick that up again. Because Peter's
yeah
like a lot of women think that they're wives, but they're really not. And you said that, and I think
yeah
it's the same thing. I agree. So yeah,
yeah a lot of think that you're by default because you're a woman, you're your wife, right? And even when we look at the Bible, say, man, if you find the wife, find it a good thing, but you have to be that first. And I to not just for me, but I
because
think
we
a
have to go.
large a large thing that men often talk about and what they often say is you need someone besides the loyalty, right? We get that.
So four.
You have for all right. So loyalty, you have to be gracious. You have to show gratitude,
Okay.
right? You have to be able to say this is I recognize the things you have done for me in my life, and without you, especially if that man is doing the thing,
Mhm.
these things that often fall to the background. They also whenever the mortgage or rent gets paid, and you never have to borrow, you never have to worry about that. You don't know the first or the 15th mean nothing to you. They mean absolutely nothing to you. For years, it haven't mean anything to you. When there's that trend going around, tell your husband, "Hey,
So
I don't
will we
have enough
say
money."
appreciation or will we say gratitude?
Appreciate
'Cause I feel
appreciation,
like that word
gratitude, right?
gratitude is a little
It feels
controlling.
it feels controlling. Yeah, you should be. You
Yeah, because
should.
I feel like appreciation is gratitude, right? If I
It is,
appreciate you
but
and I let you know that I'm
it
a constant appreciation, let's give
right.
it
It
gratitude.
doesn't. It doesn't. But yeah, you say yeah, appreciate me in my face, but be gracious to me when I'm not there. When you're
Okay.
with your friends, when other men are trying to step to you and even trying to have, oh, yo, can I get your number? No, I got a man. Oh, you can't have friends? No. No, I can't nothing. I can't do any of this,
Right.
right?
Right.
Even if we just look at it in transactional sense, you can't do for me what he does. And if
Right.
you are that type of transactional person, there's eventually someone gonna come around with a bigger bag, and you're just gonna leave them. That's where the loyalty comes in, right?
Right. Right. And I think that's a big one.
Right. And
Okay.
then for what men care about, you got to be coachable, right? Both of us, we got to be coachable. Both of us got to be coachable, right? Especially if you're coming to me and you recognize there are things about you that are just better than me. You do this at this level, you do that at this level. It's part of why I'm attracted to you. Women say all the time, I want a man that's better than me. When you recognize that, you got to be coachable. You notice when I'm sure there's things that you started picking up from you, man. His
Right.
slang, right?
Right.
Some of his habits, right?
Right.
It's a vice versa. If you're better than me in a certain area, I'm going to pick that up. But
All
if
right.
I'm stubborn and thinking I got it all figured out, I got it all figured out, then you're still going to remain that same person that you always were when we first got together.
Okay.
If I'm ambitious and I got to drive, you should be like, I'm just grabbing your coattails.
And
Just
I'm
to,
okay.
just being around you is going to improve my life markedly in so many different various ways. I need to be completely appreciative of that.
And ladies, not dumbing yourself down, right? But in the sense of you trusting that he knows leadership. I think that's another thing too that falls into commitment. Knowing when you're dealing with a leader and knowing when your man's intention is not more so to control, but to just establish forms of leadership. And I think that's what easy to talk about. I think it's
Yeah.
but you'll know when you're dealing with a leader because a leader is a provider, right? Same way he said, when you never have to worry about the first and the 50. Like that doesn't even apply to you. That's because you're dealing with a provider, right? So when you're dealing with somebody who's a provider and is doing that not just for their benefit, but doing that for the benefit of the whole trajectory of the family, maybe to make it easy on you. Because again, if you're at home, then you can take care of the kids. Maybe you can focus on their early learning. You can focus on, like,
Hmm.
again, I was able to stay home for a long period of time. My child is about to be 6. So for the first 5 years of her life, I've grinded for that, right? My child's father didn't provide that lifestyle for me, but I knew the type of lifestyle that I wanted from my child, so I made sacrifices to do that, right? Now, moving forward in my new situation, in my new relationship, that's a conversation that we've had very early on, that I wouldn't be working, right? That I wouldn't be having to do certain things, that, certain assistance and help would be into play. And those are conversations we agreed on early on. If I can't have a nanny, if I can't, then there's no need for us to keep this moving. We can keep
Yeah.
it going.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And so there's certain, and that's what I'm saying about family planning. you know how much is a nanny going to cost? Are we going to hire one? Are we going to bring one from overseas, from another country? Are we retiring our parents? Are our parents going to be our nanny? Okay, how much do our parents make a year so that we can compensate them moving in with us? And all of that comes into play. So like I said, so yeah, ladies, he's not saying it in the sense to just lose all who you are and completely
No.
just conform to who he is. But again, if your man has a better blueprint, and the blueprint is to make the whole household better, then that's something that you want to kind of be able to jump on, and kind of understand. And again, voice your opinion too and make suggestions. And I think respect is big, because if he respects your opinion, he'll take your suggestions without feeling like you're trying to overcompensate or overshadow his plan. So,
No, no, no real leader wants dumb subordinates.
mhm,
I want you competent. I want you able to make all the right decisions. I know in my absence, the ship is still going to it's not going to sink when you're gone, when I'm gone,
right,
when I'm not at the helm. You got it. I can take my eye off the horizon because you got it. I
right,
don't want you, if you're someone like that and I've got to manage you. No one wants to be in a relationship where you have to manage. Think about when you relationships you've been with men, when you have to chase behind them to make sure
right.
they
You
did
have a
what they
credit
said
card,
they
but you
would
call it
do.
because it's a leaking situation. Fix the leaking and discuss it when I get home. Why are you calling
No,
me at work to tell me there's a leak when you can call the plumber? I can't call the plumber after work. You're home. It's
yeah,
little things
take care of it.
y'all be needy.
Yeah. So if you're that person's in charge, if there's a leader, they want you, they're going to invest in you because it only makes them better. It
Right.
only makes them better. But if someone is just trying to say, I'm gonna lead and I want to keep you in a small box, I want to keep you barefoot and pregnant, that's something you need to watch out for.
Right.
So
Because that lets you know that's the mindset that they have for you, and they're not really intending for you to have anything other than just that. So
yeah. But
great
guys,
conversation, E.
yeah. On
Great
the way out,
conversation.
hit that button, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Yanni, I appreciate you. I was glad we did this. And this is probably the
Absolutely.
record, right? Record for me, the longest time, just yapping, yapping, yapping back and forth to you guys. Guys in the chat, I appreciate you. LBC, thank you again. I will spend all that in one place. Guys, I think we should do this semi regularly.
Yeah,
Just
and
right.
y'all hit easy up like Anayez, Peter. I would love to hear from Peter, like actually. So all of you, CC Chef, like make sure y'all hit easy up. He's a really great person to talk to. I would love to just come and watch and show support and see what you guys have to say. And again, not just about the mamas. I don't want y'all to feel like, just because I'm a part of it, we always got, like y'all see, we like to talk about everything. So maybe you guys are into real estate. Maybe y'all guys are like, I would love to hear whatever conversation any of you guys have, with Easy outside of that. So, and if y'all want to talk about that, I would love to hear that too. But yeah, support is real. So again, and this is just to show you guys, rapport is important, right? I might need to call Easy on the back end about a real estate property. If we was flirting and kiki and cackling and doing, no, he might be like this. And all right. So you have to always keep relationships relationship friendly, right?
Yep.
Because you never know what's
Yep.
going to happen. I might need to write a book about the mommy sector. I'm going to go ahead, okay? Can't be doing all that. Y'all hit skinning and grinning. So when y'all do hit this young man up, just make sure some of y'all's content creators are coming with whatever y'all coming with, and don't try to manipulate the situation. If y'all want to flirt, go and flirt. Girl, you single. But don't try to kill two birds with one stone, and then y'all be out here looking crazy and got no content, okay?
Right,
So much
right. Just
appreciation,
remember,
much love,
guys,
much respect.
we're going to keep it respectful because my mom might be watching, all right?
Y'all
Keep that
know,
in mind.
y'all know you're not on my channel when we cut up. Your mom might be watching.
When I come
Shout
over
outs
to
to
her
mom too.
channel,
Hey mom,
right.
much
When I come over to her
appreciation.
channel,
You raised
y'all
a
can say
great
whatever you
son. So
want.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. I appreciate you.
Y'all have a good weekend. I'll see you on the back end.
I
Okay.
like that. All right.
Bye.